It's Super Bowl season, gentlemen. The time where legends are made, underdogs rise, and your fantasy team's fate hangs in the balance if it's not already wrapped up like our fantasy teams are.
Can Tom Brady make it 8?
But here's the deal. While you're fighting to avoid those last place punishments, don't forget your grooming because you don't want your grooming game to take an L.
This is a Manscaped ad?
It sure is.
That's not where I thought this was going.
Specifically the Beard and Bundle package, Steve and Jesse. The ultimate grooming kit designed to handle your full body shave days. And yes, sometimes it takes a whole day. Right?
What's in it?
Well,
Hair. Hey.
Whoa. Well, you got the dual threat grooming of the beard hedger, an electric beard trimmer, and the Lawnmower 5.0, which is a trimmer for groin and body, because every great play starts with the right tools. You see?
I love your puns.
Well, it's actually written into the script. Isn't that beautiful?
I love your puns.
Yeah, thank you, Manscaped, for your puns. The ultimate grooming toolkit designed to handle your body on your day, and it's ready for your victory celebrations. This bundle has you covered, keeps your grooming game tight, even if your lineup isn't so tight. And we want to offer you a 20% off and free shipping code. It's Dangle. Manscaped.com/Dangle. The Beard and Balls bundle. Today, buy it and join over 11 million men who trust Manscaped worldwide. Again, it's 20% off, free shipping. Use that code Dangle at manscaped.com.
Wait. Can I try?
No, okay.
Super Bowls. Super Balls. Fuck.
The Steve Dangle Podcast with your hosts, Steve Dangle, Adam Wilde, and Jesse Blake.
Maddie booed me.
A boo for Maddie here. All right. Hey.
I deserved it.
So the salary cap is going up. And we'll get to that in just a second. But first, I must tell you about BP Stouffville, Molson Canadian, Boston Pizza, SDPN teaming up for the first live show of the first game between Canada and Sweden at the Four Nations Face-Off. Doors at 5:30. We're doing a live show at 6:30. Canada plays at 8, and we're going to be hanging out to watch along with you, which we're very excited about. If you want tickets, and they are actually going very quickly, you can buy them right now in the link to the description of this video or audio program. Whatever it is that you use, it's in the description.
Whatever the frig.
Yeah. And by the way, Molson Canadian is the official beer for hockey and a partner of the Toronto Maple Leafs and PWHL. You can play Call the Shot every time you order a Molson Canadian. As Steve mentioned last episode, you get to drink it, which is cool.
Yes.
But you also get to make predictions, and you can score points to win VIP trips, game tickets, gift cards, and more.
Well, Adam, you mentioned the PWHL. Like, who even watches that?
Well, I would.
Who even streams that?
I would on Saturday afternoon.
But who would do it?
There's only one man. There's only one man.
Oh, yeah, I'm streaming the Scepters game tomorrow.
You forgot.
No, I didn't forget.
No, you didn't forget?
No.
Well, because the Leafs are out of town, right? So you got a bit of a Saturday where you don't have to go down to the arena, right? Which is nice.
Yeah. No, shootout loss last night. Not great. But bounce back victory on Saturday.
You know what? When you
Right.
lose,
That's what we're all anticipating.
when you lose to MPP in the shootout on the last shot, you're like, okay, fine.
no,
I'm
Making
not
her
feel
shoot-
not good.
but like I'm not surprised by it.
It's not fair.
I know. It was a great dig too. Let's talk about this salary cap. So the estimates, and this is the key word here, estimates are out. If you've been listening to Agent Provocateur, Alan believes 97 million is the actual number, but the estimates have come out. And the estimates, which were supposed to wait until the Four Nations face off, but were leaking because the NHL, the walls talk. Estimates are next season, the salary cap will be $95.5 million. That's up about 8.5%. It's 26-27. The estimate is $104 million. And then 27-28, the estimate is $113.5 million. So that's an 8% jump, and then an 8% jump on that, and then like a 9.5% jump. It's a major jump, 27-28. But we have to remember that the actual numbers are still not set in place. This could, though, trigger some extensions because now teams finally know, hey, here's what we'll have. And players go, here's how much we can ask.
Well, and the first thing I thought with some really big names is maybe sign a 1-year deal. Maybe sign a 1-year deal. And then when the real kicks in, sign your big one.
You know who's looking like the smartest player in the NHL right now?
Mitch Marner?
No, Gavrikov. If you remember,
Oh,
he was, first off,
right.
trade deadline acquisition, big free agent, defenseman, that sort of thing. And everybody's like, wait, he signed in LA for $5.8 million for 2 years.
Yeah.
for 2 years, and he saw this coming.
It's, it's the smart thing to do, right? If the cap has been garbage, and it has been, like, I don't know, you always run the risk of blowing out your knees. But if you're confident that's not going to happen and you're confident in your abilities, keep it low or keep the amount of years low. Wait and see. Hold. And this is the reward right now. This is when you call your agent and go, pick up your phone.
Right. Now, anybody that signs a contract this offseason, I feel like if they go long term, is basically like any team that signs a guy at the $95.5 million number. Let's say it's static at that. And it's, again, these teams look at it, these players look at it, these agents look at it as percentage against the cap. They don't look at it in the actual full number. For how do you calculate value? It's percentage against the cap. If you are signing a long-term deal this summer, like 8 years, 7 years, 6 years, unless you are super young, you are potentially robbing yourself if you don't go short.
Well, I was going to cut you off, as I often do. No. Like, if you sign an 8-year contract this summer, you got bad advice. Why? Why are you signing an 8-year deal? Mitch, don't listen. Like, why? Matthew, don't listen. Like, why are you signing an 8-year deal if the cap is going up this aggressively? Matthews was ahead of the game in this regard with the 5-year and the 4-year. What's the point of signing 8 years when this is the reality ahead of you? Nylander at 11.5?
That becomes a steal pretty soon.
All of a sudden looks real good. There was a time where I went, oh God, wow, okay, that's a lot. Now, like, he's still one of the best goal scorers in the league. Like, if you have anyone locked up to 8, you're doing all right. I don't see a reason for a star player to do it.
Well, some guys, you know what? It was interesting. If you watch the Amazon documentary specific to Nylander, he doesn't want to move anymore. He moved as a kid so much because his dad was an NHL player that he's like, this is the city I've spent the most time in. I wanted to stay.
Yeah, that's a good reason.
That's pretty cool.
That's a good reason to sign for 8.
Yeah.
I mean, you know what you could do is, what if you just signed a shorter deal and then didn't move?
You could do that too.
You could also do that.
Now, here's what you brought it up a little bit on the last show, Jesse and Steve. Has anyone been more screwed by the long-term deals they've signed than Nathan MacKinnon?
By the end of his career, he will have left $50 million on the table.
He won't care. I mean, Crosby did. Crosby left $50 million on the table.
Yeah, but Crosby did in a way that feels on purpose.
You don't think Nate did on purpose?
No.
I mean, his original deal when he was younger, he was coming off a rough year.
Yeah, he signed a long-term deal. I want to say it was 6 years, coming off of like a down year. He had like 40 points or something like that. And then he had probably the greatest contract in the NHL for a number of years. Now he's making 12.6 in an economy where this summer we're probably going to see a player sign for 15.
Right.
You think McDavid's signing for a dime less than that? No shot. And if he does, that just build the statue now, pre-cup. Dude, it's hey, good for the Avs.
Mm-hmm. Jesse.
I think what Steve was saying there is the most interesting name in the salary cap discussion, because the 2026 offseason, when the cap is supposed to be that $104 million, Connor McDavid is a free agent. He's going to be eligible to sign an extension coming this offseason because that's the contract is expiring the next following season. And now that we know the salary cap number is going to be that high, I wonder where those negotiations go, because there's no price that's too high for Connor McDavid. So how high do you go, knowing that the cap's going to be 113 a year later?
The best player in the league always gives you a discount when you think about it. Mm-hmm. McDavid should be making 20.
You can't.
But
in a couple years,
by the time
what's the upper limit for a player's contract is 20, 18 something?
I think so.
I forget the actual
in
percent.
like 2 years.
I forget the actual percent, but whatever that number max is what he should make next off season.
Yeah.
And then it's still a discount come the 113.
20%, Jesse.
20%, yeah, right? So whatever 20% of $104 million is, that should be his cap number. And then it's even less once the cap goes up the following.
I believe that would be $20.04 million. I think it's like that would be his number.
The way more interesting number with McDavid isn't the cap hit. Like, we know it's going to be the upper limit. It's the amount of years.
Yep.
I mean, I think if he signs anything longer than 3 or 4, it's an act of charity. No, seriously. Why would he sign 8?
Well,
With the cap going up this aggressively, why would any star player do that?
So, I mean, Steve, what if you were to predict what Connor McDavid's next contract looks like? Who is it with? How long? For how much money?
Okay, you're not going to enjoy this answer, but it totally depends on his priorities. If it's 8 years, it's what the literal maximum number is times 8, because that's the most he can sign for on that day. I think if he was smart, he'd sign for the literal max number, maybe even a hair less, as a little bone to throw the Oilers. Mm-hmm. But I'm doing 3 or 4 years.
So let me ask again. What do you think Connor McDavid's next contract is? Years, team, dollars.
Oilers, 4 years, and then whatever the max is. I don't know the number.
Leafs.
So it would be 104 million. So that 20.4.
I'm going to say Leafs. 18 million, 7 years.
Nice.
God bless you, Adam Wilde. God bless you. I don't think so, but bless you.
Greg Wyshynski just tweeted, kind of amazing that Leon Draisaitl's cap hit, which is 14 million, will only be 12.3% of the Oilers cap come 27-28.
Yeah, dude. Like
That's great.
He signed 8 years, right?
Yeah.
Jeez. We were looking at McKinnon. That's crazy. Any of these deals, I'll give you another one. Mm-hmm. Shesterkin.
Oh, yeah.
Good deal.
Hell of a deal.
Right? It looked a little rich. How does it look now?
All right, follow-up question that we did the McDavid. Next up, Mitch Marner. Did the Toronto Maple Leafs make a mistake by not signing Mitch Marner early in this season to a long-term contract?
The word on the street is neither side were ready for that.
I think it's a very unique situation where the team will not even begrudgingly let a player walk if there's failure. And if there isn't failure, I think he's just going to stay. Like, he wants to be here. Right?
So what's the number?
So what's okay. If you want to stay, there's incentive to sign for 8. But it would be a total act of charity on his part.
Yeah.
There is no reason for him to do it.
Now, if he did that, the anger and it's not entirely his fault. He wanted the maximum term last time, and he got it, and the cap stayed flat, right? Like, we should be at about 120 million now.
I start the negotiations at Leon's number.
If you're Mitch?
Yep.
And it's important to know, he sits between Leon and Connor McDavid right now in points.
Yep.
Leon's third.
Leon's
Connor's
first in goals.
Yes, but in points.
Yep.
I'm just talking about points.
Sure.
Don't think I mentioned goals.
I mentioned goals because they're more valuable.
Draisaitl, Marner, McDavid. 3, 4, 5 in points.
Damn.
I don't think you're wrong. And here's the question, though. Do you guys think he would go, and I have no idea, no insight on this. Do you think he'd go a full 8? Or do you think he's going to be like, you know what, I'm doing what Matty is doing. I'm doing 4 years, and then I'm going to see where we're at the end of this.
I was surprised Willie signed for 8. Right?
Jess, what do you think?
This is all copy.
You said they're neither side were willing to do it, but I feel like at any price somebody's willing to sign the dotted line. Do they offer Mitch that, like, hey, I can't refuse this number at this point, number earlier in the season? And is that beneficial for them?
If they give him Leon Draisaitl's contract, $112 million, I think he's probably considering.
You think
that.
he would have taken it?
But don't you think that would tip their hand? And it's like, well, once we offer him this, we can't come back. Like, we can't come back and be like, you know what, Mitch? Sorry about that offer. It's now 13.5 later on. Like, that is negotiating wise, it's not a great strategy, because if you're the Leafs, you're just going, this is what we're willing to go to. And then you put them in a take it or leave it position, and he's got no trade protection. Mm-hmm. So maybe they didn't go there because it wasn't the best but he holds the cards here. He really does.
He's going to sign in an 8-year, $16 million contract, and then we're going to find out there's about 1,000 cases of bird flu, and then we're all going to be – it's going to be bad.
I think
let's not do that.
If the Leafs don't perform and Mitch doesn't perform, I feel like the Leafs then get all of the power because I think everybody would be willing to walk away.
And you're talking about playoffs, right?
Yeah.
What is –
So I don't know if he holds any power if he doesn't show up.
Can I ask you?
Well,
can I ask you guys?
there is that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mitch has been about a point a game player in his career on, in the Leafs in the power play playoffs. And I understand that those came in bunches, right? Sometimes, like, you look at the Tampa series, like, wow, he got a whole bunch of points in that. He actually scored them all in the first 2-3 games.
Showing Marner's points per game in the playoffs is deliberately misleading. You know what we're talking about, and you're being obtuse.
Yes. So, if you're Brad Treliving, Jesse and Steve, and let's say $14 million's on the table, whether it's 4 years, 5 years, 8 years, 3 years, doesn't matter. $14 million's on the table. What do you need to see? Because that's what Steve suggested. You start at the Draisaitl number, right? What do you need to see? And let's say the Leafs, because this is their brand, get one round in the playoffs. What does Mitch need to show you? Is points, play, whatever wise, to know that, you know what, I'm safe. I feel safe committing to him at that number for X amount of years. Like, what do you need to see to be like, okay, he's put the playoff demons behind him?
Be the number 1, 2, or 3 reason why this team had playoff success. Get them over the hump. Pot a couple goals.
Set up a couple.
Throw up some points. Don't take a puck over the glass penalty because you're nervous. I don't think what's being asked of him is
anything other than what he brings in the
and
regular
it's also
season?
not something that's easy to accomplish, right?
But that's what the money's for.
That is what the money's for. It's hard.
Jesse?
It's hard.
Yeah, no, that's it. Like, you need to see what he does in the regular season in the playoffs. Like, it needs to be proven that game translates to the playoffs, because right now you see it in spurts, you see it a little bit, but it hasn't been consistent, hasn't resulted in any sort of significant run for the Toronto Maple Leafs.
The games get harder, you get better. That's what the greatest players do.
Mm-hmm. Do you guys feel like, do you honestly think, and I don't want to do this too much, but I think we're midway through the season, and what you've seen is a career year for Mitch Marner. It's very quietly a career year. This is the best overall hockey we've ever seen him play. I think specifically you really saw him shine when Matthews wasn't playing.
Oh, yeah.
I'm thinking specifically of November, the way him and Nylander really carried things. Mm-hmm. And we will get into the Leafs Wild game a little bit later, because I do want to get back to the trade and all the stuff that happened last night.
Sure.
But with Marner's play so far, do you think the way he's playing now will translate to the playoffs in more success for him? Are you seeing differences in his game that you're like, he's doing it different this year in comparison to last year?
He's more physical. He's more willing to go to the net.
Plays angry.
Plays angry, but like productive angry, not like, I'm just completely thrown off my game. And I would say anything that is in Mitch's game that isn't great for the playoffs is more a symptom of all the Leafs are doing it, and it's not just him. Like, he's still kind of a perimeter player, and it's still too much of a perimeter team. Especially, man, with Nyes and Tavares out of the lineup, it's not that they lost those their production, it's the type of production they provide. The Leafs don't have it.
Yeah, there's no dirty area guys right now.
No, like a play that I hated late in the Wild game, I think it was Mitch, I'm not totally sure, set up Austin for the side of the net one-timer, and that's a play you can make at any time, right? But you have a 6-on-5. You have the numbers advantage, the man advantage. You're not trusting the guys in front of the net. Like, Matthews isn't shooting for the rebound. He's shooting to put that thing through the back of the net.
Yep.
You're just not trusting, I think it was McMahon and Pacioretty to get the job done there. So that but anyway, we're really getting into the weeds there. This is the best he's ever looked, best he's ever played, feistiest he's ever played. Craig Berube's rubbing off on him. The Leafs were, I was going to say right not to bail on him, because that is a complicated conversation. And you have to go back to, well, then there's no movement, blah, blah, blah. Put it this way. I've been over it for many a year. The results haven't been there for many a year. This year, if it doesn't work, can we all get on with our lives?
Okay. Now, I do want to say that, Mitch has done something that, plenty of players don't, or plenty of players don't do, which is like, you look at like Elias Pettersson, who's making 11.5, and the 40 points in 65 games since he signed it.
Making 700 G's more than Mitch.
Right? Mm-hmm. Mitch has never done that. He's never, listen, you can complain about his playoff performances all you want, and I have. But there is a consistency in the regular season with this guy, and that has a significant amount of value.
Yeah, and like his slumps are very particular. It's like, he hasn't scored in a while.
What's a while? 2 games?
But he's got 9 assists in his last 7 games.
Oh, right, yeah.
Stuff like that.
Yeah.
No, he's a very consistent player.
Jesse, question for you. We're going to go right into the Wild Leafs game. We'll save the trade for the next segment. You're at the game Wednesday night. Mm-hmm. And first off, Marc-Andre Fleury's last appearance at Toronto, it looks like. And we'll talk about his game with Montreal.
What'd you see out of him in warm-up?
Yeah.
Fantastic.
I believe
the best part of warm-ups was he was chatting with Matt Murray. It was fun to see.
That's cool.
Love that.
Fleury and Murray rekindle their Penguins relationship.
Noted Asian Alan Walsh was in attendance both nights, Leafs and Montreal.
Yes.
Did you run into Alan at all?
I did. He was talking to Pacioretty though.
Oh,
so I could just say hi, Alan, and then go back to your business. So.
Fleury didn't allow a goal in either game.
That's crazy.
What?
Thanks, Steve.
Jesse, what was your sense of how the team felt about things after the loss? Because this is the thing. I know how I felt. I know how Steve felt. I saw the LFR. How do you think the team felt?
Yeah, I think sometimes it's important to take a step back and look at the day-to-day of the team and how things have been going the last week or so, because it's a team that played Saturday, then they played Wednesday, and then they play Saturday again. There's so much time in between those games, it's hard to get in a rhythm. And I look at what happened in between the Sens game and the Wild game and the Columbus game. So you got a Rogers Gala.
Yeah, they were pretty busy.
There's an Easter Seals skate at Fort Performance. They have their outdoor skate on the Monday, and it just feels like they weren't in hockey mode. The team as a whole, as a core. And I was talking to Alter. I was like, I think the road trip is going to be really good for the Leafs because they haven't been playing consistent hockey as of late, and they haven't been consistently practicing. And there's been so many extracurricular activities with the Leafs going on in this week because you can't put them in the beginning of the season. They're busy, they're focused, they're getting into the groove of the season. You can't put that towards the end of the season. So unfortunately, because they are also a business around the Leafs, you have to schedule at some point, and hear this little gap with one game in 7 days with the Wild game in the middle of the week. That's when you get all of these extra activities falling on this 1 week. And since there's not a lot of practice time, I don't fault them for the performance against the Wild. There's concerning stuff like they need 3 more forwards on this team, but I feel like that's a different conversation than just the individual performance of. I don't want to deem it a schedule loss and give the guys a whole bunch of slack on that, but like one of the goals Matthews tipped in himself.
Yes,
which is the wrong play to do. Berube said, when you're blocking a shot, you don't block it with your stick.
Yes, I don't know why he did that.
He called out Matthews for doing that. But it's an own goal, and then the other one, it's a goal, but you also scored a goal, so it's 1-1 plus an own goal. So it's not as bad as of a loss when you take the whole context of what the Leafs are doing here. And I said the road trip is going to be good for them because now it's just hockey. They flew out Thursday. It was an off day, so I assume that was their travel day. You go to the West Coast, Central, I guess, Canada. You go to Edmonton, you go to Alberta. Then you're just doing hockey. You go on the whole road trip. You do Seattle, you do Vancouver, you do Calgary, all hockey, all practice, get focused, you go on a long break for Four Nations. It feels like it's good, and right now this is kind of a lull in the schedule, and you get these losses against Minnesota.
The star players of this team are basically not going to see their home base for like 2 months.
Good.
It might be good for them.
Yeah.
Because they got the Canadian road trip, like you just said. They then have Four Nations. This affects Joni Hakanpää as well. Then they have a road trip immediately after Four Nations. They have one game against the Hurricanes. Then they head into a 4-game road trip. They're home for 1 day against the Sharks. Then they go do the Vegas, Colorado, Utah road trip. Then they're home for a little bit. They alternate between home and away. Then at the end of February, they go on the California road trip.
Mm-hmm.
That's March.
Yeah, the stretch in March that's like the important part of the season for me. Like that's where you're gonna find out if the Leafs are free. Those are the games where I'm gonna start getting like a little concerned or a little excited about what I'm seeing at Leafs.
Can they start to peak and get it together?
Exactly. This is the important part of the schedule where you need to be peaking, and a wild loss there, you can take some good things, you can take a lot of bad things from the performance, and hopefully at that point in that long stretch in March, you have the depth scoring that you desperately need, and you get some new bodies in there. You're a little healthier. Or if you're injured, can you perform without those players?
And you have scorers 4 and 5 out.
Yeah.
In Tavares and Nyes. I think that matters.
Mm-hmm. It does.
And I know the games keep coming and the schedule, whatever. Minnesota's a good team.
Without Kaprizov.
Without Kaprizov. Now, listen, when a team is coming into Toronto without their star player, the Leafs are about to get pumped. That is a guarantee every time going to happen. But the other side of it is they have looked, guys, a little discombobulated, and that's been for a couple of games. It wasn't great against the Senators. Again, I'm acknowledging that they've had a lot of injuries.
Yep.
Pacioretty back for his first game. McMahon playing up on the first line.
And I like him, but he's not nice.
Well, of course not.
They don't play the same.
Yeah, and I want to talk about too, like earlier on in January, had trouble scoring then too, right? They won tight games against Philly where they look like crap.
If you want a rosy glasses way to look at it, the Leafs have allowed 5 goals over their last 2 games. 2 of them have been goals from the sticks of their opponents against a goalie. Woll has allowed 2 shots.
One was off a knee and one was off of their own stick.
One was off a knee, one was off their stick, and another was an empty netter.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think the defense is doing pretty good. I think the goaltending is doing pretty good.
The problem here is the offense, and
they can't score.
I don't think on many teams, if you walk into the rink and McMahon and Holmberg are like top 6 forwards, like you're not going
to win a lot.
You're not looking at that team being like, they got enough.
Nylander's line mates have 5 goals combined.
Mm-hmm. That's the real concern. It's I don't think it's the microscope on each individual game. It's the overview of the team and how they have a lot of work to do for the deadline.
Hey, the fact that Nylander still scored despite the fact
scored good assists,
and he can drive a line, and it is worth the money obviously to have him. But I think you have probably some things that you could switch out. And Jesse, you said they need 3 forwards. 2 of them are Tavares and Nyes, I think, but you need at least one more impactful forward.
I think by the
been
time
such a disappointment.
I'm finally ready to admit I'm very disappointed, and because I thought we saw the best of him last year.
Yeah,
he hasn't been good enough, and that guy, talk about can't drive a line, right? And there were times where you see that third line with him, McMahon, and Robertson, and you're like, yeah, they got it. They lit up lesser opponents, and anytime they took on a contender, they got run over. The Leafs need at forward, I think, is why Brandon Saad is going to be a Leaf by the time the show is up.
So you think he will, eh?
Really?
Yeah. I
don't know that he's that good though. I
didn't say that.
Is he not more of what they have in the bottom 6, which is takes up space and can't score?
He's the guy that they'll give a shot to.
But he's apparently looking for big money because he gave up $5 million or whatever's left. And so apparently he's not coming into town for a max deal or something.
What he wants more than even like a big payday is the next year's contract. So he wants a 2-year deal. This year prorated plus next year. And apparently there's a bunch of teams offering him that.
Really?
Yeah. So they're going to sign him for the rest of this year and then next year. Because for him to give up $5 million is crazy, but it's because there's on the table a contract for next year.
He has 16 points in 43 games, guys.
Doing it in the playoffs is so important. You can ride that for so frigging long. When was his last? Like, I know he's got the 2.
Last time he was in the playoffs was 21-22 with the Blues. He had 5 points in 12 games.
What are we doing?
Well, I don't think the Leafs are. I know that the Leafs are rumored to be in, but I don't think they're the front runner. And I just don't see how, unless you're moving bodies out, like, where does he fit?
Well, I think you probably waive guys. Because, like, listen, do you want to give up draft capital? Not really. Do you want to give up your prospects? Not really. All right, well, if a guy becomes available to sign as a free agent who's been playing in the NHL all year, it actually makes a lot of sense.
But giving up cap this time of year can be devastating to...
Well,
he's not going to get you... He's a winger.
I don't sign him to an amount that's not variable.
Well, but that's...
He just went through that.
Yeah, he just said, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
Well, if he's not doing that, then I think that's unreasonable and you're out.
Well, yeah, and that's why I don't think the Leafs are going to get him. They have $2 million in cap space. They're projected because of the LTIR. They will have $2 million by the deadline. I don't know, man.
Everyone seems to have itchy thumbs right now, and they're all making trades or rumored to be. I'm not going to yell it. Brad, where you at, man? Bradley, where you at? Like, okay, well, they're in first place. God, we used the shit out of that, didn't we? Well, they're not anymore, are they? They're second place, and the Sens are 4 points behind them. Dun. Work.
Well, actually,
those phones,
sorry, that
man.
doesn't matter.
Oh, yeah, it doesn't matter? It doesn't matter. Oh, okay.
I was told that's
good. Well, thank you. I'm new to the sport, so it's always good to have it talked at me. Mm-hmm. Like, what are we doing here?
The other thing I want to mention is that Calle Yarncroke, and people laughed at me for this, and I don't give a shit. Calle Yarncroke scored 2 years ago, 20 goals.
Calle Yarncroke is exactly the kind of player they could use right now.
Yarncroke would be great.
He'd be great, and I don't know how. Like, they expect him back before the playoffs. That is for sure.
That's surprising to me.
So
it's good news.
It's great news. So this guy who had, he had, 10 goals, 11 assists in 54 games last year. That is exactly the type of thing that you need in the bottom six right now.
Such a consistent goal scorer. Go look at his career. Every year, like it's not a high pocket, but there's this pocket that he finds every damn year.
Yep.
He's going to be somewhere between 13 and 20 goals.
Perfect. Great. That's what
13 goals makes him a sniper on this team. In the bottom six, holy crap.
I'm also
easy there, Maurice.
I'm also looking at it's been funny. People like on the stream are like, well, what if the Leafs? There's the we mentioned it I think in the last show, the Kyprios, Morgan Riley for JT Miller. First off, JT Miller wants to go to the Eastern United States, although Toronto's close to the Eastern United States. Second, Northeastern United States, apparently where he wants to be. Second, people are like, why? Kipper was like, well, why not Morgan Riley? No movement clause, just had a baby. Wife's entire business is based out of Toronto. I don't think so.
Sidebar, you know what's going to be highly entertaining?
What?
When JT Miller and Elias Pettersson are both traded to rival teams in the East.
And they got to play each other?
Hell yeah.
I like that. I'm into that. I'm into that.
Go.
JT Miller to the Rangers. Carolina gets Pettersson or something like that.
JT Miller also has a 15-team no trade.
Yeah.
So I believe all the Canadian teams are probably on that.
Oh, that's exactly what I mean. Like, he's
they
not
might be
waiting
on it
to come
twice.
Morgan also has one. So yeah, I don't know how that's going to work.
Morgan's
out.
not going anywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, stop, everyone.
Yep. And then so beyond that, people are like, "Wow, why don't you just? Well, you could be Morgan Riley, Nick Robertson." Like, guys,
stop.
What do you think Nick Robertson's trade value
Stop.
is?
What are we doing? Knock it off. Knock it off. Oh yeah.
Yeah, he's
Oh,
just
yeah.
got people
There
are
you
just
go.
chomping at the bit for Nick Robertson. No disrespect to Nick Robertson, but he's had a down year. He needed to have a great year. He's been trying. He's been pretty good at times. It's been really dry
I don't
at
think
times.
Riley and a first round pick gets it done.
Of course not.
Like they're big game hunting here.
Yeah, they want a player back.
Yeah.
And I don't think the Leafs have that. I think
He's also not a center.
Yeah, that's also a problem. Pettersson is. But long story short with the Leafs, it does seem like there needs to be some sort of trade. Again, if you look at the Jonas and Jonas Siegel and Chris Johnston list, Every single player on that list, I'm like, okay. Oh, that's expensive. Oh, that's expensive. Oh, that's really expensive. And so I'm hoping that.
Yeah, but you're trying to win. Who cares what the prices are?
Well, apparently
Damn.
the Leafs do. They don't want to give up another first. So which is it, man?
Yeah, that's what I'm
Which
saying.
is it?
It's like, okay, so you don't want to win. You're going to go into the playoffs with a team that's not as good. Like, cool.
Do you see the problem with this being built into your every season?
Mm-hmm.
Every season, you go in with a top-heavy, flawed team, which means you need to spend. And every year we go, oh, we don't want to spend. And then they either don't and lose, or they do and lose.
At least you tried.
But at least you tried. Yes. You know what? Hell, I'm on your side on that one. At least you tried.
Yeah, no, go out swinging.
With Jake McCabe, who they still have, and Ryan O'Reilly, you won a round.
Oh, yeah.
You didn't do so hot in the second round, but you took a big swing. You won a round. You ended up losing a round 2. At least you tried. Right? They don't. You can't go into the playoffs with this team.
Yeah. I don't think, like, casual fans, I don't think they sit there when it's there. They start to really tune into the Leafs. It's late season, and the playoffs roll around, and the Leafs are, like, on the news now, you know?
Yes,
It's not just in the sports part of it. They're actually the lead story on the 6 o'clock news. And I don't think anybody's sitting there being like, you know what? That 2027 first. It's not all this playoff partying and that first round victory. It's not worth it.
No.
What about that guy we're gonna draft in 2027?
Well, I was joking in a video I shot today for the Flames Flyers trade. I'm just envisioning Danny Briere on the phone. Craig, if you're friggin' serious about this, you're going to include a 7th round pick 4 drafts from now, which is something that actually sort of happened. Listen,
Get it done.
get it done. It's considering how totally flawed this team is. It's pretty admirable how well they've done, even though they're not in first anymore, and other teams are starting to catch them. But like, I'm at the point where I'd like to see them start making these moves because the gaps on the roster are painful.
Yeah.
They're painful.
And I honestly don't think any of them are on defense outside of Morgan Riley struggling. I think they have so much good D depth, that
It's adequate.
that they can probably survive with the D core they have. Like if they went to playoffs with the 8 guys that they have, I think I'd be fine because I'm including Hakanpää in that because he's going to be healthy come playoff time.
He's a bit of a monkey wrench in the situation. Like if he plays and he's the guy he's been throughout his career, like I think that's basically, nailed it. Great. Then you have Hakanpää Riley like you wanted. You can reunite Tanev McCabe. And then you have, Riley's on your 3rd pair with OEL? Wait, no, I'm wrong.
You already
Sorry.
said Riley.
No. So OEL, and then you could have him on the right of Benoit.
Or Timmins.
Or Timmins, or, you maybe add one.
I don't care to spend the assets to kick out maybe Timmins or Benoit. Like I feel like those guys have earned your 6th defenseman on this team isn't going to be the make or break for this.
We're really
team in the playoffs.
nitpicking.
Well, and people do nitpick those guys, and I want to remind you.
Okay.
I want to remind you that Kimmo Timonen won a championship with the Chicago Blackhawks, playing 4.5 minutes a night.
Now I know they had 3 defensemen.
I know that. Yeah, it was Keith Seabrook and Chalmerson. That was it. Now I know that the Leafs don't have a Duncan Keith, but I feel like they've got a Chalmerson in Tanev. I think OEL's pretty good. I think McCabe's pretty good. Like I think Jesse's got a point. I'm not worried about that.
I'm asking the 6th defenseman on this team to be one of Benoit, Myers, or Timmins. I think that's okay.
Even their minor league depth, like they'll live. They'll live.
Or Marshall Rafai.
Friggin' Dakota Mermis, like
we're pretty solid if Hakanpää comes back and it is good.
Okay, who's your 3rd line center? Oh,
that's a question.
Friggin' Dick Blinken.
Right.
Well, it's and by the way,
it's some
I think
dude.
I think we know it's not Fraser Minton.
He's too young.
I know. But I told you guys that earlier this year, and you guys were like, no.
No, but you had to see.
Yeah, I know. You got to see
You've now seen it twice. He's not there yet.
He's not there yet.
Organization loves him. He will be one day.
Based on what I've seen, I'm very confident he'll get there. Of
course.
He ain't there.
Right.
So Let's go
He's
out.
also going to get a good little run here on the road trip. Who knows what he can do?
Yeah.
I think there's chance here for Minton to step up, but still, I think you need depth pieces.
I am definitely getting to the point where I'm like, all right, like it's been obvious for months. Let's do something here.
Start of the season, obvious. And I'm sure Craig Berube has had the Brad conversation. Like, Brad, listen, I've reworked this lineup as best I can, but I need a third line. I need a second line center who plays third line center.
They've used so many guys. I like was just looking at like the Leafs stats page, like just randomly because that's what I do in my spare time, and I was like, oh yeah, Alex Nylander.
Yeah, he's there.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Yanni Hakanpää playing at the Four Nations. We're gonna get to see if this guy can play anymore. Especially with Heiskanen out.
He got assigned a number today.
Yeah,
He's playing.
he's playing.
We've all known.
This is the weirdest thing.
It's the best conditioning stint he could get. I don't even
honestly.
care.
I know
People are like,
no
"Is
non-Leaf
this
fan
bad?"
gives a shit about this story, but
not
it's
bad.
fascinating to me that a guy who has not played, like this isn't even Drew Doughty.
He did play. He played a game.
Well,
Maybe
Hakanpää
two.
did play, yeah.
2 games, actually.
yeah. And when was that? That was like American Thanksgiving.
And he had arthroscopic knee surgery after that.
Yeah. Drew Doughty just played like 50 minutes over 2 nights.
Yep.
Where's Yanni? Where is this guy? I don't get it, man.
If we're just last note on the forward depth, Ryan Reeves played 5 playoff games for the Toronto Maple Leafs last year.
Yeah,
I don't know if we all remember that he was in the first 5 games against the Boston Bruins. I don't think that's probably the plan again
I can't
this
imagine.
year.
No, I can't imagine.
So there's we're talking about there's I think 3 forwards you got to get here.
Yeah, because, well, do you need Connor Dewar healthy? Because he's injured, right? So
Yarncroke healthy, hopefully.
because you're looking. What are you looking at for your fourth?
I
line?
can scratch Dewar.
What are you looking at for your fourth line? Lawrence Dewar Kampf looked good.
Yeah, fine. Which, if you're going to have a metapod fourth line, which is what that is, your third line needs to have some ability to score, and they don't.
It's Domi blank, right?
Well,
It's not good.
I don't think it's going to be Robertson. I think
That's
it's
what I'm
going to be McMahon, and I think it's going to be McMahon, center, Domi. Right? Or Pacioretty, depending upon who's
So
injured.
you don't have Domi on the. You have Domi on the wing.
Yeah,
You're
Domi on
still
right
getting
wing.
a center. Yeah.
You have to get a center. I think Pacioretty. I don't know what you're doing in terms of the second line. I love Tavares Pacioretty. I thought that worked great with Nylander.
Yeah.
When they played together.
So you have McMahon.
the grumpy old men line. I love it.
McMahon, center, Domi.
Yeah.
So Nyes, Matthews, Marner, Pacioretty, Tavares, Nylander.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
McMahon, center, Domi. I mean, Robertson, I assume, is in this deal. Right?
Yeah.
And then Metapod.
Yeah.
Okay.
You don't hate that.
Where's Yarncroke?
Oh,
Well, Yarncroke can sub in and play. Hey, listen. Here's an idea. You're trying to win in the playoffs. You need more defense. Yarncroke's your guy. He's a good third line center. He's a good third line winger. He can do both.
Okay, here's. So we're getting there. We're getting there. If Yarncroke plays, now this might be holding it up. You might have a really good point here. If Yarncroke gets in, then you probably try McMahon, Domi in the middle, Yarncroke. You could try McMahon, Yarncroke in the middle, Domi. And you try that for however many games to see if it works or doesn't. If it doesn't, that is the drop dead. You have to make a move because you've tried literally everything. Everything. There are no more options to try. That's enough.
I don't hate moving off of David Kampf.
I don't either.
For an upgrade. I don't hate having Connor Dewar in the press box. I think there's a lot of little tweaks you could make.
Can I offer one little tweak I'd like to see them make? What do the Leafs struggle to do?
Score.
Depth score.
Yeah, they have the top goal scorer in the American League.
Who?
Alex Steves.
Oh, Alex.
Yeah, he's got like 23, 24 goals.
Yeah, throw him in and don't put him on the damn fourth line. Like, give him a run. Give him an actual run that's like worth having.
I think it's because you guys share a name that you're advocating for this. I don't think you really mean it.
It is.
He did not play great when he was up.
No, but I also don't think he was like. If you're gonna call him up, I'm serious. Like, I would look at, if Tavares is healthy, like putting him in the top 6, probably put him on the second power play unit. You need goals. You need goals, man. And if you're determined to do it on a shoestring budget, all right.
I don't know if they are. I think they'll take a swing. Just a question of what. Well, and are Leaf
taking their time?
Are Leaf fans prepared for a potential Easton Cowan or Ben Danford or Fraser Mitten to go?
No, they're not.
They're not.
I have a very hard time seeing them moving.
I do too, but if you want to swing,
I don't. Danford's an interesting one because, like, that wasn't a sexy pick, and I don't know if that's like a tantalizing prospect. I think he's just like solid.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So, like, I don't know if teams are clamoring for that. So, like, how much value is there? You basically have Cowan.
And he, as exciting as he is, what does he project to be as an NHL player? A lot of Leaf fans have some pretty outrageous expectations for this kid.
You know, we often talk about not missing Kyle Dubas. He was exciting. He gave us those little piddly trades as a moose-bouche. and he's doing it in Pittsburgh.
Yeah,
it's like, hey,
nibbling.
We traded 4 and we traded 2 and from 2 players you've never heard of. And I get to go, ooh, and I miss being able to do that on my channel.
Steve?
Yes.
On February 27th, 2023, the Toronto Maple Leafs acquired Jake McCabe, Sam Lafferty, a 2024 conditional 5th-round pick, and a 2025 conditional 5th-round pick from the Chicago Blackhawks for 2025 conditional 1st-round pick, 2026 conditional second-round pick, not conditional, Joey Anderson, and Pavel Gogolev.
Pavel Gogolev. What a name.
Would you do that trade again?
What the yes.
100%. Who cares about trading away 1st-round picks in the future?
Yep.
Second-round. There's a 1st and a 2nd in there. And Joey Anderson.
And where'd they get Knives? 2nd round, right?
Yeah. I would much rather have Jake McCabe and that little Sam Lafferty run and the 5th in there than that first.
And they didn't have to give away Lafferty for free, but they just did.
Yeah, they did. Half retained on McCabe and for multiple years. Yeah.
That's worth a first.
It's worth a... What would that... Where was that first?
It's this year's first.
Oh, right.
That's the one they traded to Chicago.
It's this year's first. It's going to be, even if they were to get knocked off in the 1st round again, it's going to be like
20
in the high 20s. Like, what?
The projected salary cap, just so you know, if the Leafs cap space coming into this offseason will be $28.7 million. So they got enough room to sign Tavares, Nyes, Marner, and At.
Nope. We're playing Steve's game. What's the number?
28.75, and that's if you don't move out Conf, if you don't move out Domi.
No. Don't give me any of that shit. Don't give me any of that shit. Give me something solid.
Okay.
So you have 28.
We just did this math like 3 episodes.
Yeah, but
but now we have a number.
Marner 14. So
and
that's
the number's smaller than the number we were working with.
Marner 14. That's half.
So Marner 14. Okay.
Half. Gone.
Oh, so this just takes out this. The 28.5 number takes Marner out entirely?
I think it does, yeah.
Okay, 14.
So
now you
Tavares
have
at 6.
14 and a half left. All right, let's say Tavares is 6.
Marner and Nyes at 5.5.
Oh, geez, now you're moving too quick for me.
So it's a lot. Right, so that's $3 million.
and Wool is getting a raise.
Wool's getting a raise, but that
which is basically $3 million.
That counts. The Wool raise counts against the cap free that they have, including the McCabe raise and all that stuff.
And the McCabe.
Because they're already signed.
Got it.
We're talking about projected cap space.
So Marner's half of that. Nyes add on to that. Oh, Jesus. Someone else do the math.
Anyway.
This is too hard to do.
I said it's about $2-3 million. Yeah. Anyway. I just did that to bug you. You know, sometimes in the studio it gets hot, which is why we like to wear Doer jeans. You know, these are the thing about Doer jeans. They're great. They're breathable. They're made with renewable fabrics where possible. A lot of plant-based fibers, and they breathe. They breathe. Your legs can breathe. But they also have nice stuff that you can wear other than on your legs.
I have a Doer toque that I really love. I have a Doer flannel that I really love. They have a lot of great clothes.
They're built for doing, with options for everyone. And Doer stands out. They make their clothes sustainably, like I said, ethically. And that's something that's real hard to find these days. When you buy it, it should last.
You guys are throwing out so many details. It makes my butt look good.
Oh. Do you get complimented on it?
Not enough.
Okay. Okay. You'll find us in our Doers this year. And if you haven't ordered your Doers yet, now is the time to update your wardrobe. Check Doers flagship store in Canada or the United States or shop online. Shopdoer.com/STP. Right now, our listeners will get 20% off your first purchase when you use our exclusive URL. It's shopdoer, DUER.com/STP. Really great deal. 20% off. Do not wait. Shopdoer.com/SDP. All right, let's talk about the Flyers last night. And specifically Matvei Michkov scoring and the goal being called back because one Morgan Frost breathed in the wrong direction. I don't know if you guys saw this goaltender interference. It was, to me, it's egregious. I'm like, if a goalie comes up and bumps you, it's the goalie's fault. And that's what it felt like with Morgan Frost. That Michkov goal should have counted.
Right.
But what's important about that is Morgan Frost didn't finish the game because he got traded.
And hurt.
And hurt, but the deal still went through. So Frost gets pulled, somewhat hurt, supposedly. Farabee is traded. Going the other way is Kuzmenko, Pelletier, and then a second and a seventh from the Calgary Flames. It seems like both teams won out here. But let's start with the Philadelphia Flyers, who on paper, talent-wise, current talent-wise, you go, what did they really gain here? Pelletier's got he's got an okay ceiling. Kuzmenko's a UFA. Tortorella, if he's mad at Michkov like he was last night, and we'll play that press conference in a second, they screamed at each other on the bench.
I want to know what was said on account of the biggest strain in their relationship is the language barrier.
Right. But I'm trying to figure out what Torts is going to do with Andrei Kuzmenko.
That's a fascinating one because everything I've learned about Andrei Kuzmenko is he is exactly the kind of player Torts will hate.
Yes.
I think he's going to play with Michkov, which is going to be fascinating because they can go in and out of the doghouse together. They have a communication issue with this kid. And we've tried to talk about this because Torts has actually been, I think, very in-depth and forthright with what's going on with Michkov and when he's scratched and when he's benched. He is a young player in this league. He's still learning. And there's a language barrier there, and it's a huge problem. They tried to recruit Igor Zamula, who's a defenseman of theirs, to help with that language barrier, and Torts felt it cratered Zamula's game. So they're like, okay, we can't just have him do that. You're not going to bug the goalies with it. You're not going to bug Kolosov or Fedotov with all that. You need a guy. It's important. One of the reasons Jesse Puljujarvi didn't work out in Edmonton is he had no one to talk to because he had a language barrier too. It's not a problem that's just limited to Russians. You know, this poor Finnish kid comes over as a teenager, has no idea what the hell's going on, and no one will talk to him because they can't. Right? So Kuzmenko played with him in the KHL. They didn't just go, let's go get some random Russian guy. They got an ex-teammate of Michkov. They know they can play well together. And Kuzmenko, when he's on,
scores a lot.
When he arrives at a team, he almost scored 40 goals as a rookie with the Canucks. Like sometimes when you see a player who's not doing well and you see their cap number is big, I always like to go back to when they signed it because I'm like, okay, there must be some crazy outlier here. And 39 goals. Yeah. The next year, which was last year, it doesn't work out in Vancouver. So he goes to Calgary. What does he do? He friggin' goes off. And then this year arrives and he can't hit the broadside of a barn and he still can't play defense. So this is a perfect change of scenery deal for the Flames to get him out of there. For the Flyers, you get him in order to get rid of Joel Farabee's contract. He's making $5 million a year to be 11th on your team in scoring this year. Forget it. Frost is doing all right, but he's been in Shea Bow Wow.
Well, Wyshynski tweeted, "Congrats to Morgan Frost for getting out from under Torts."
Yeah,
there are some players that hate playing for him. There's some players that love him.
Yeah, and two buddies got traded to Calgary, and I'm sure they're going to be over the moon. Calgary gets better today. The Flyers, I think, get better down the road. Pelletier is starting to hit his stride in the NHL. Kuzmenko, who knows? Like, if this doesn't work out, he probably goes back to the KHL next year, honestly. and you get a second round pick out of it. The Flames want to be better sooner, I think, because they are better sooner.
Yeah.
And they get 2 players who are young but probably not at their peak yet. The Flyers, who are probably still a year away, get guys who will be able to help them when they're
and
no longer a year away.
Kuzmenko is expiring.
Yes.
The salary is
Well, that's
expiring.
what I'm saying. Like
yeah.
either he works out and they keep him, or he doesn't work out and he might end up in the KHL again.
Worth mentioning too, gentlemen, that the Flyers have 7 picks in the first 2 rounds this year. And
Wow.
projected cap space next season, it's a lot.
Are they a dark horse for one of the Vancouver guys?
Oh, I think so.
They have the assets.
Yeah.
And by one of the Vancouver guys, I mean JT Miller.
I mean, why not
I think John Tortorella might actually kill
JT Miller?
Elias Pettersson.
Because here's the thing. The Flyers have $25 million to spend, assuming everything stays the same this summer. The next year, it would be $57 million.
Yeah, I'm sure
They're gonna sign somebody onto a ridiculous
Yeah,
contract.
the Flyers are a big money team. This is I don't think they're done. I think they're going to be either it's this year or at the draft in free agency. They're about to have a real noisy 6 months.
Jesse, for the Flames, Morgan Frost and Joel Farabee have had down seasons. And what I kept hearing from Craig Conroy and all the players, everybody's like, Farabee brings jam. It's jam.
I like him. I like that player.
I like Joel Farabee too. Do you think 25-year-old Morgan Frost turns out to be the best pickup the Flames get? Because you think 25-year-old center, guy was a first-round pick, late first-round pick, but still a first-round pick. Is this exactly what the Flames need?
Yeah, I like the move from Conroy because you're giving your team a shot here because they've positioned themselves in a spot where I don't think they even expected themselves to be in, which is in a playoff spot come early February. So he's giving the team a bump here in hopes that Kuzmenko is giving you nothing. So you're upgrading Kuzmenko with Farabee and Frost, and you're saying, okay, we're trying to get goal scoring because we struggle to score goals despite winning all of these games, or we're bringing in 2 individuals who are going to hopefully have that goal scoring bump for our team and continue to push for the playoffs. And we have a shot here to get some playoff dates. So I think it's a fantastic move. And it's just whether or not Frost and Farabee can generate goal scoring. And if they can, then wonderful move because you weren't getting it out of the guys you had there.
I think something applies with the Flyers that we used to say about the Arizona Coyotes when they were not even a team. They were just sort of a money laundering scheme. It's great to have all these picks. You're not actually going to use them all. You can't even have that many prospects in your system. I remember years ago, the Sabres, I think, were in the same position as the Flyers are now, where it's you pick 7 or 8 times before you even hit the end of the second round. They're still bad. Mm-hmm. It doesn't always work. So what I'm interested with the Flyers is I don't think they're hanging on to these picks.
No, I think with the Sabres, you saw them actually make all of those picks. And what's ended up happening is they have a bunch of young guys and nobody else. They have all of these great young players, and they don't know how to play NHL hockey because they have nobody surrounding them. And I think the Flyers, with those three first-round draft picks coming up this year, yeah, they're perfectly positioned to be really good. Maybe not next year, but the year after. This Flyers team is going to be a really good team for a long while once they get to that point where they have all of these NHLers that they're using their assets to get.
Okay, here. I'm just isolating 2013 and 2014. For the Sabres. You have 2 first-round picks, and you use them on Rasmus Ristolainen and Nikita Zadorov. JT Compher, Connor Hurley, and Justin Bailey are your second-rounders. Okay, womp, womp, and womp. I don't know how much JT Compher accomplished as a Buffalo Sabre. Then you have 4 second-round picks the next year. You get Sam Reinhart second overall. You managed to screw that up. Then your second-round picks are Brendan Lemieux, Eric Cornell, Vaclav Karabacek, and you end up getting Jonas Johansson in the 3rd round. your odds of hitting on all those picks, I mean, maybe you have more confidence in your scouting department than the Sabres do, which you'd probably be right.
Yeah.
But I don't think the Flyers are going to hold on to those picks. Maybe use 4 or 5 of them, but they're going to trade some of them.
I think the Flyers have aspirations to be better than when those picks would mature. Like those picks aren't gonna like one of the picks is the Edmonton Oilers pick. Like you're gonna pick 30th.
That sounds like a trade deadline move, right?
Yeah, it's like okay, so you pick that player, and then 3 years from now he's good. I think the Flyers' window is next season and the year after in terms of building this up to a competitive team.
Like look at Matthew Nyes, I think, is a second rounder that has worked out exceptionally well, like better than is reasonable to expect a second rounder to work out. This is his breakout season. He was drafted 3 years ago. Mm-hmm. So you make a pick this summer, they're not gonna make a real impact in your roster until 2028.
Yeah, Joseph Woll was the Austin Matthews draft.
That was 9 years ago.
This is his first year as a full-time starter. Yeah, they're not gonna. They should send out these picks and get better quicker because they got a good little core going. And Torts might turn this team into a championship team.
Now
and Adam's going to be upset.
Jesse might have nailed it.
He hates Torts.
He does.
I don't hate Torts.
Yeah.
And Dubas.
And Dubas.
Oh, yeah.
Freedom.
By the way, that Ovechkin question
And
from last
vaccines.
episode, people were very upset that I even asked it. Pittsburgh, all of Pittsburgh were pissed.
Yeah,
all of Washington seemed to appreciate it. I don't know why. So weird.
Yeah, but we're a split nation.
Yeah.
It's just so funny that you would needle the Penguins. It's never happened on this show before.
I think Penguins fans are being needled in the eye right now by the way the Penguins
By
are
Adam
playing.
Wild.
I
Yeah.
told you this was coming. I was just the one that told you.
Here, last thing on the Flyers. Jesse, it's funny you bring up Joseph Woll because you know what the Flyers could spend those picks on? A goalie. And not drafting one because, that's going to take the better part of a decade. Trade them for a real, living, breathing human goalie.
As of this morning, it looks like the Capitals are close to locking up their other goalie, Charlie Lindgren, 31 years old, breakout year last year, still pretty good this year, $3.5 to $4 million.
You don't want to play Torts?
Oh, I guess we play Torts. Yeah. Let's play Torts. This is okay. Well, now you know about the Washington thing, but whatever.
Did you forget about the thing you were doing?
I did. And this is after, remember, Torts and Michkov had a screaming match with each other on the bench, but I actually really appreciated this because I think Torts kind of nails it here. Whether or not he's the guy to do it, he kind of nails why he's doing it. Here you go.
Like I said, I've said all along here with him, we are so far ahead of the process.
They show the footage in this, Adam.
Oh, sorry.
So,
nuts.
Pull it off, and we'll just listen to the audio. There you go.
In here this year, and that continues even tonight's process. It needs to be. We're trying to teach them how things are done, here. The things of understanding conduct of a pro, all the things you do to play. I'm not going to get involved in the situation. Someone on the bench tonight, I'm not going to give you specifics, but you may not believe it, but it's for the right reason, because we care about him. I care about him and where he is in the process, how far along he is in the process, and I'm not going to fail him by cowering away from situations that people may second guess or whatever it may be. We're going to do it the right way with this kid because we think he's that special. So it's my job to do that, no matter what happens.
And he's right.
Great answer. No, what is this the first time we've ever seen a coach?
No, but what I liked about it,
match with a player
in Toronto, that'd be like, oh, nothing happened. I don't know what you're talking about. That's never happened ever.
Right.
Coaches and players hold hands and go to each other's Christmas parties. No, this is his boss going, hey, man, that sucked. And I expect more. But he's also saying he's way ahead in the process, as in he's better than we even expected him to be.
Of course. Well, and think of how frustrating it must be for both people. Matt Vey obviously has something he's trying to convey, and he can't, or he's struggling to. And Torts, same thing, and he can't, and he's struggling to. Think of how difficult it must be to learn in that environment, or to teach in that environment. That's a big reason why they made the Kuzmenko deal.
So I mentioned, I'm going to move on from that. Charlie Lindgren, obviously,
yes.
$3.5 to $4 million seems a great reward for a guy that really, it took him a little bit longer to break out, and he seems to have found a really good home in Washington. And that will be those two goalie contracts, $6 million and $4 million. in a couple of years, the Caps are going to spend like 8% of their cap against goaltending. Like that's good planning, man.
That's the first contract that we've heard of since this announcement. And my first instinct was, well, Lindgren's your backup now, and that's kind of a lot for your backup. Oh, wait a minute. No, it's not. And a lot of teams do not have two good goalies.
And you need it.
And you need it.
The days of goalies playing 70 games are over.
So you're going to pay between 9 and 9.5% of your cap for your goalies, which seems reasonable as long as they're good, and they are. So go for it. No, it's no problem there. The Caps don't make a ton of bad decisions lately, eh? Interesting that it coincides with them getting the folks at Cap Friendly.
Yeah, interesting. Interesting. Kevin Weeks, listen, Bandt Clarke being scratched for 2 games in Los Angeles would not have been huge news outside of Los Angeles. And you have to remember, Bandt Clarke, 21-year-old defenseman, leading LA defense in scoring this year. He started hot. He's been not as hot. And that is what a 21-year-old is in the NHL, frankly. Like that's every 21-year-old unless you're generational. But it wouldn't have become a story if Kevin Weeks hadn't speculated that maybe they might be moving him. To which everybody said that would be insane.
You would have to be on every drug to move that player.
So is that Kevin Weeks just stirring it up a little bit, you think?
I don't. Well, what on earth?
Because Rob Blake has told insiders he's not moving.
What on earth could the Kings possibly get that would help them now for Bandt Clarke? I don't. No. The whole allure, that we talked about at the beginning of the season is like, well, now these young guys are going to have to carry the team because Drew Doughty's out. But the whole allure of having this young D-core is they get to now learn hockey under Drew Doughty. Learn hockey at the NHL level under Drew Doughty. And the second he gets back, you're going to move one of them? Nah, that doesn't make any sense to me. I think they're only going to get better now that Doughty's back.
It's really annoying, isn't it?
It's extremely annoying.
Good team, missing one of their best players ever, franchise icon for the most of the year, still has good season.
Comes
better
back,
than everybody thinks, and then he comes back and is playing 25 minutes a night.
Doesn't look like he's missed a stride. Like, get out of here.
John Klingberg, guys, played
with Bandt Clarke. I think it's a lot less nefarious than anybody's trying to make it out to be. It's a kid who's in his first year of the NHL, and he's been playing a shit ton of minutes to start his career. He was not great defensively the last couple of weeks, and really throughout the entire season. He's been great offensively, but defensively he needs to work on his game. And I think you have a head coach who's pointing at the rookie saying, this isn't acceptable for NHL hockey. I'm going to sit you down for a little bit and we'll get things going.
On a lot of teams that are at the bottom of the standings, you might expect to see a young player play every night and, okay, whatever, you just have to play through it. That ain't the Kings.
Right.
They don't need to do that.
They're trying to win games. They've been back-to-back shutouts. They've been shut out back-to-back games, which is the first time in like a couple of years that's happened. They've gone 8 straight periods without a goal. Like they're clearly reeling and they're looking for something. They had some success running 11-7. So I think there's an argument amongst Kings fans to keep Clarke in the lineup, and you take out a forward because I think there's a couple forwards you could probably sit down for a little bit over Clarke, but I don't think anybody's looking at creating another Brock Faber situation with the Los Angeles Kings.
Which for those that don't know, context.
Brock Faber was a pick of the Los Angeles Kings. His pick they drafted him and then they traded him. It wasn't like they traded the draft pick and then he was drafted. No, he was a prospect in their system. He got traded to Minnesota and now he's Brock Faber. And I don't think they want that again.
That was the Fiala deal, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they have turned out some pretty good defensemen. Like I know everybody's like, well, the Leafs drafted Jersey. Yeah, but who developed him? LA developed him. Look at what he's doing in Utah.
Brock Faber and a first-round pick that the Wild used to select Liam Ogren for Kevin Fiala.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Now
boy.
Kevin Fiala
That's
he's been fantastic for the Kings. in his
Yeah.
time there.
Yes.
But you look at Brock Faber and you say, what's the
upside?
The long.
They're like the new Ducks, right? The Ducks were like a factory for good defensemen for a long, long time.
Boy, that's a spicy meatball. That's an expensive trade.
That's rough.
Eesh.
Did you guys read the Zadorov story? For whatever reason, the Zadorov contract extension was talked about in that Globe and Mail article, and I kind of
one?
well, the one that they couldn't get done
Okay.
because the Canucks defense is thinner this year, much thinner than it was,
Yeah.
and I left it out, and then Dan Milstein put an Instagram up about it because he's like, why are we still talking about this 6 months later? So here's what happened. At the end, Zadorov, this is a quote from Rutherford. At the end, Zadorov was talking close with Tocchet while Patrick Allvin was talking to his agent. Tocchet would ask him, what's it going to take to keep you here? And Zadorov said he would have to get his contract to $5 million annually. Then he'd be set. So we got him to $5 million. Then we were told there was no deal. So Rick said to him, what's going on? And then he said, well, if we can get up to 6 years, then I'll stay. Same process. So we said, okay. So twice in that process, he said he'd give me that one more thing and I'll stay. And then we gave it to him and then he goes off to Boston. So I think, so I can understand why Milstein's like, what are we still talking about? That's the joys of negotiation. And also, and if you want to, you can do this on Puckpedia, there are tax implications where he will save more money going to Massachusetts.
I just don't. The quotes don't make Zadorov look great, but the president,
Isn't that negotiating though?
well, it is negotiating, and negotiating, as you know, is always very polite, and everyone's happy by the end, right? Like it doesn't look awesome on Rutherford to be airing that dirty laundry.
Yeah. Also, months ago, the report was that they weren't willing to go to that 6th year and that they offered him the correct amount of money and that they couldn't agree to the terms on the years. And because Boston went to the 6th, he went with Boston.
Right.
Like, somebody's not telling the truth because that they said, like, Zadorov said he wanted to stay in Vancouver and he wanted the 6th year, and Vancouver I think only came up to 4 years, and I don't know, maybe they came up to that 5th, but he wanted that 6th.
I have a thought. Trade for him. Boston might be selling.
Oh, you mean right now?
Hey, you could trade for him.
That's so fascinating. Get one of Pettersson or Miller, and Zadorov is one of the guys going back.
You don't even have to get. No, don't give Boston Pettersson or Miller. Dude, if you're Canucks,
Please
do
don't.
not help Boston.
Get Zadorov and Lindholm back.
Oh God, I don't think they
Make
want
the
Lindholm
money
back.
work. No, listen. I don't want to be critical of an exec actually like giving us something spicy there. Like,
No, it's good.
that's a great quote, but I just I don't think that. I don't understand how that helps you at all. Like, other than you distract your fans from what's going on. I don't understand it. What's the motivation there? How does that help you down the line? It just makes you look bitter, I think. Doesn't it?
It might, or maybe he's just responding to a question that was asked and being open. Because the one thing CJ said on the podcast on the CJ show yesterday, he's like, I have to respect that. Rutherford felt like, okay, I owe, even though everybody knows that Miller and Pettersson are at each other's throats, I owe fans like a statement after all this crap. And I do respect that. Most markets, they don't feel like they owe you, and they won't talk about it.
Yeah. Okay, goodbye.
Yeah.
See you later.
Yeah, so that'll be interesting. By the way, I thought it was interesting them talking about Pettersson to Buffalo. You know, just... It does make a ton of sense.
Yeah. Well, if you're Buffalo, like, I know Pettersson has struggled, but like, yeah, that would really tie the room together.
It'd be nice if Buffalo did anything. Like, I think they
too.
just do this Pettersson deal for the sake of switching anything up, because what they have hasn't worked for the last decade. Why not just try something?
Might they consider planting some palm trees?
Yeah. Their GM thinks that'll help.
Yeah.
Dog shit organizing.
Well,
Whoa.
yeah. Right now, yeah.
No, it's bad.
No, it is
Like,
bad. It's bad. But it could be a lot better. And if Pettersson does go there, I don't know if that makes them a playoff contender instantly, but if you can get him back and you could get Tage Thompson, if you get Tage Thompson back to 40 goals and Pettersson back to 100 points, they are instantly competing for a wild card. Instantly.
How close is Cousins Byram to getting the job done? It's been hiding in plain sight. We kept thinking contenders.
Yep.
But no, it doesn't need to be.
Columbus is another name that's come up for both of those players. Pettersson more than Miller. And I think, man, if they do that in season, they might wait till the offseason, but they did that in season, that would be a heck of a reward for that group of guys.
Yes. I guess my question, when it comes to Miller and Pettersson, it's always been articulated that the Canucks need to get a center back.
Mm-hmm. And you're not giving that up if you're Columbus, because that's where you're strongest. What you need is a great winger.
Okay, are you giving up Monahan? No. Oh, okay. Are you giving up your captain, Jenner?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I got well then Fantilli.
Right. Or Cole Sillinger.
One of your.
Is there a prospect you can dangle?
Hey.
They got a deeper system. Why not?
I think
but
Vancouver's trying to win now.
Yeah.
Right? They're not in a position to take on prospects.
I wonder though, guys, if that
use.
changes towards the trade deadline where they go, okay, well, because and I'm gonna go to. I want to talk about Rantanen in a second here and how these cap changes affect Colorado and Rantanen and Carolina and all that stuff. But if Rantanen, who is an animal and never has a down spout ever,
so good,
is going to get you Nietzsche's and Jack Drury, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I mean, what can Pettersson get? You have to remember. He's on an extended cold streak. He makes more money.
They're not even kind of in the same conversation, in my opinion.
That's cool. But I think we got to talk about.
Yeah, no, I know. But Rantanen, I'm gonna say exactly what you just said, but I'm gonna put them in more blunt terms. Pettersson makes more than $2 million more than Rantanen for
7 more years.
Nearly a point per game less production. Maybe not nearly a point per game, but half a point per game, 0.75 points per game less production. He's close to double Pettersson's production. Pettersson has been a poor playoff performer. Rantanen is one of the greatest in the entire league. There have been no perceived attitude or work ethic issues other than that time he screamed, "I'll fucking kill you" at Alexander Georgiev, which was crazy and didn't get talked about nearly enough. It's a real thing. Look it up. I think if Jim calls me up and he goes, well, they got that, I cut him off right there and I go, Jim, are you okay? You feeling all right? You got a fever? What's you think I'm giving you a comparable to Martin Nietzsche and Jack Drury for Elias Pettersson? What year do you think it is? This isn't a couple years ago where that would have made a lot of sense. A couple years ago, we were talking about Pettersson he was getting ready to take over the league, and it's gone in the complete opposite direction. It's a fascinating.
They might trade both guys. CJ even said it. He's they're open to trading both.
You're probably getting your ass kicked in a Pettersson trade because you're not going to get near what Colorado got for Rantanen. And simultaneously, he probably bounces back with the team that you trade him to.
Could you get some magic beans, though, with a couple of first-round picks from the Philadelphia Flyers?
Yeah, I'll give you some magic beans.
Pettersson with Torts, though, I don't know.
I think Torts might kill him with some sort of blunt object.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
By Christmas of next season.
BetMGM is official sports betting partner of the National Hockey League and has your back all season long. And we had a look at the website today. And Jesse, you dug this one up. I love this.
Yeah, because last night Ovechkin scored on the power play. And one thing BetMGM is offering is you can bet on the method of Ovechkin's 895th goal. So the time he beats Gretzky, how will the goal be done? Will it be even strength, power play, or shorthanded? Shorthanded is 67 times your money.
Oh, wow.
Power play is 2.45 times your money. And even strength is 1.48 times your money.
With the goalie pulled, that is technically even strength.
Yes.
Power play is the, I think, fairy tale answer.
A slapper from the Ovechkin spot.
Realistically, it is an empty netter at the end of the game.
You think that's how it gets done?
Yes.
Okay.
I hope not. I hope it's like the first period of a game and he crushes one like from his spot on the power play. Now,
Make it so that you can't even continue the damn game.
if you were gonna be risque and go shorthanded goal,
That's crazy.
how many shorthanded goals does Alexander Ovechkin have in his career, guys?
1.
8.
5. 3 of them came in one season,
I'm shocked it's that many.
and it was his first season.
It should
Wow.
be. Wow.
Yeah. He hasn't scored a shorthanded goal since 21-22.
Oh, that recently?
Yeah, but that was
Okay.
the last one, and then it was like 10 years before that. So it's like 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0.
Yeah,
Empty
shorthanded-
netter, 6-on-4.
Possible.
I don't know if that counts.
No, 6-on-4. So the other team has a power play and they pulled their goalie for the extra attacker.
Oh, 6-on-4. Yeah.
That empty netter is technically a shorthanded goal.
Right. If it's 6-on-4.
Yes.
Yes. I don't know.
Could be fun.
But is he even on the ice in that situation?
Yeah.
Like, is it center and him?
No, I think anytime the net is empty, you put Ovechkin out.
Yes,
Yeah.
of course.
I think once he gets within 5-10 goals, you play him 40 minutes a night.
BetMGM is a sports book worth a celly and an official sports betting partner of the National Hockey League. BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. Actually, go to BetMGM.com/dangle if you really want to get spicy. Must be 19 years of age or older to wager. Ontario only. Please play responsibly. If you have any questions or concerns about your gambling or someone close to you, please contact Connects Ontario, 1-866-531-2600 to speak to an advisor. Free of charge. BetMGM operates pursuant to an operating agreement with iGaming Ontario. And my next question, segueing to that trade, is this, gentlemen. With the cap going up as much as it is, and remember, these are estimates, right? These are estimates. So there is a very, very good chance that cap goes up, okay? That even for the 95.5.
I'll believe it when I see it, Adam.
Stop it.
You told me 97, you liar.
Well, you got 95.5.
That's
I got
not
like
97.
So, not 97 yet. So,
Steve was right to be skeptical.
did Mikko, it's an estimate.
Yeah. Well, all right. Currently, right now, Steve Dangle is in the driver's seat.
I'm fine with that. I'm still
Nailed it.
I'm sticking with Alan.
He's on pole position, Adam.
That's fine.
Races on Sunday. Steve's on pole.
Yeah, but he drives
happen?
a steak F1 car. When it comes to this issue, I'm gonna lap his ass. Are you ready? 97's happening.
Whoa.
No, it's happening. And McDavid will be a Leaf. All right. No, but that's my other hot take from this episode. McDavid will be a Leaf. Did Colorado screw up?
Yep.
Because
Eat it, Drew.
like Rantanen, okay. Again, his cap percentage, if he signs at $14 million and the cap is between $95 and $97 million, right? Between Steve and myself in terms of cap projections. That is the same percentage.
The NHL released a number that's a lot closer to Steve.
No, it isn't. 95.5 is not closer to 92.5.
No, Steve's number is just not 97.
No, his number was 92. Stop.
I'm giving.
No,
him
my
that.
number wasn't 92.
No,
Yes, it was. You said it wasn't going anywhere.
I'm giving Steve the benefit of the doubt
this
that
is such a joke.
he didn't believe it was
The system's
97,
rigged. The system's rigged.
and it's not 97 right now. So go ahead.
Okay. Did the Colorado Avalanche, if the estimate is $110 million in 2 seasons, why trade Rantanen? You can sign Mikhail Makar. You can sign Rantanen.
Cale Makar is going to get so much money.
He is, but like think about that. You got Nathan McKinnon on a steal of a deal. If Rantanen's number was really 13 or 13.5, are you really seriously telling me you couldn't get to that?
Here's what everyone's losing sight of, though. You can't just light next season on fire. And
They wouldn't be. How would they be lighting next season on fire? McCarr's still under contract.
Now, wait. What's the cap? 92.5?
No, it's 95.5.
No.
he means
this
right
year.
now.
Right now?
Yes,
Yeah.
it is.
Yes.
92.5.
Yes.
So next year it goes up $3 million. And Rantanen is asking
Yes,
you.
that is correct.
There you go. So Rantanen, I'm usually.
Sorry, guys. The actual cap this year is $88 million. That's the cap this
Oh,
year.
sorry. Yes.
Oh, so the estimate.
92.5 was the $4 million
Okay.
Yeah.
start of the season price for next
No,
year.
you're right about that. Yeah.
Okay. Well, Rantanen getting the raise he wants eats up most of that.
Okay. You're still the Avs.
You're still the and the Avs have a lot of the same issues that the Leafs do, where they really struggle to get depth scoring. The difference is Cale Makar has like 3 times as many goals as the Leafs' entire D-core. So
True.
that's the big leg up they have.
Is that an advantage?
This is a little bit. They've struggled in net, and they've had to make not one but 2 moves there, right? But they're looking at themselves going, gosh, every year we got to plug all these holes because we're really top heavy. We're going to make efforts to be a little less top heavy. We're going to see if they're right, because Nietzsche helps them next season. Like, they can go out and do some big game hunting
Yep.
in the offseason.
They might even sign Rantanen.
Might even, a boat's a boat, but the mystery box can be anything. Like Rantanen, like, bless Marty Nietzsche, who's a great player. People don't appreciate how fucking good Mikko Rantanen is.
So so again, I ask.
I know. It's
No, I think what they're doing here, their strategy in not building a top-heavy team that's loaded up with a bunch of high-salary contracts, I think it's a smart strategy. I think with the opening of the salary cap is probably even more beneficial to that, because they have even more room to work within that salary cap number. Like, they're positioning themselves to add pieces, because in hockey it's less effective that one man can create a whole winning team, right? So you're getting more opportunity to add more high level players, and I think it's a right strategy to build your team.
either Landeskog comes back, or I think they take a real healthy swing at JT Miller.
Yeah. Also, the Colorado front office isn't dumb. They knew where the salary cap was going, and they made this decision knowing that.
Yeah. I mean, Allen went on a podcast and was like, here's the number.
I think if Booger McFarlane with his calculators can calculate everything, he knows where the salary cap is going. And it wasn't like he was in the dark on, hey, this thing might be $113 million in 2 years, which is the estimate. And he made this decision knowing that.
Also, that Blackwood contract kicks in next year. Like, next year, if they kept Rantanen, next year was going to be very difficult for the Colorado Avalanche. And, then the cap goes up. Okay, well, Cale Makar is going to eat up like $6 million of that.
Yep.
Going from 9 to like 15.
In 2 seasons. That's not till 2027.
Okay, well, there you go. Like, they're making a conscious decision to limit how top heavy they are.
This team gets to be a Stanley Cup contender for many more years, and I think you're limiting your window if you sign Rantanen for a whole bunch of $14 million.
Do you think?
Okay, hey, Leafs go to July 1st.
Okay.
Marner's still a free agent. Rantanen's available.
I'd rather have Mikko Rantanen than Mitch Marner.
And that's not even a diss at Mitch Marner.
No.
It's just acknowledging the truth of how cracked Mikko Rantanen is as a clutch
Mitch
player.
Marner, 4th in league scoring right now, ahead of Connor McDavid.
That's cool.
Okay.
Kills penalties.
Yeah.
Great on the power play.
He sure is.
Loves Toronto.
Cool. My evidence is watching Mikko Rantanen play.
Can I pose something that I think some fans out there are concerned with when we're talking about this cap?
Hit me.
Yep.
$113.5 million is the upper limit of the salary cap in 2 seasons right now.
Yep.
3.
Are we... Okay. 3 seasons, because this season's
Yeah,
technically
it's
not
3
over.
seasons. Yeah.
Okay.
No, because it's going to
Next
go up
season,
to
the
95
season
and a
after. Yeah,
half,
it's 3
then
seasons.
104,
Sure.
and then 113.
3 seasons.
Yeah.
Small market teams who can't reach that limit, are they being squeezed here? And we are creating a system of haves and haves nots, like in the old NHL when we didn't have a cap at all.
Well,
This comes down to one thing, but you guys go ahead.
people forget that most of the halves were idiots and spent their money poorly and did poorly anyway. Like the Rangers just going, yeah, we're going to spend on every free agent, forgetting that there's only one puck, and then not making the playoffs. The Leafs are like, we're just going to sign every old guy under the sun. And, they won some playoff rounds. They didn't win, though. They didn't end up getting a cup. Like, who really bought a cup? Like, are we really just talking about Detroit here? Did Colorado buy a cup? Like, did New Jersey buy a cup? Did the who won in 2003? That was the Devils.
Yeah.
The Devils definitely didn't buy a cup.
Sure.
They're broke. Like, did the Lightning buy a cup? I'm trying to think of all the ones leading into the lockout. And then, I don't know if you noticed this, but Detroit kept winning after they implemented a salary cap. Like, I'm not worried about it.
There will be internal caps, but there's internal caps right now. Anaheim's operating under one. The Coyotes always operated under one, and it was called the cap floor. The issue with the cap, and I have said this many, many times, and no one fucking believes me, is that the revenue sharing among NHL teams is not high enough, right? You think that revenue sharing is like crazy good in the NHL. People are like, well, without the cap, they couldn't survive. No, what's going to help the smaller market teams is actually the owners getting together and going, we need to share a little bit more of this HRR. And guess what? The owners don't want to do that. The Coyotes, when they were like the Coyotes, when they existed, when they were breathing, their check from like the rich NHL teams would be like $5 million a year. That is not even close to enough.
No.
And this is why I've been an advocate of a luxury to hard tax system, where if teams are going to spend in the luxury, the NBA, what is it, Jesse? It's like 3 times you get taxed $2 for every one.
Yeah, but the NBA's ruined the cap where they've created too many limits on player movements, where it's essentially a hard cap now.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think there's a scenario where, and this I think also works for the NHL as an entertainment product, because if you have a cap system that's too hard, you're essentially creating a situation where a lot of really good players are sitting the playoffs out. If you could have some sort of luxury tax threshold and then a hard tax or a hard cap where teams who are really going for it that year spend into the luxury tax, load up on talent, and then all of that luxury tax money goes to the teams that lost money, right? Goes to the teams that are the smaller market, right? Goes to the Winnipegs, goes to the Anaheims. I don't know who else like regularly loses money, but those teams year over year lose money on their balance sheet while getting richer. If you could create a system like that, there's a great way to force the rich owners to spend money. And then, by the way, what would be great is when Winnipeg or Anaheim's good again, or any of these other teams that balance sheet wise, it doesn't quite work out. And remember, these teams are a tax write-off for rich people, so please don't feel too bad for them. The reality of the situation then becomes, okay, I'm forcing these guys to spend, but they're spending on players. They're not writing a check to a team just because it's poor. They're writing a check to a player so they could bring them on. You get more star players into the playoffs for a better entertainment product. And the teams feel like, okay, well, I spend in the luxury tax, and yes, that goes to the cheaper teams, but at least I got something for my money.
Adam, I think we're avoiding the most important question.
What is it?
How do you take your coffee?
2 creams.
2 creams? Okay. I'm asking because you could always go back to radio. You actually have talent. I'm just some weird guy who like watches hockey and rants about it. I need a job for when there's a lockout because these guys are idiots and spend
They're not
money
going to
like
lockout.
drunken. Adam, please learn from history. You're a history buff. Remember all those lockouts? That's why I think there might be lockouts. So I need something to do, and I will go and get your coffee.
So I mentioned the upper limit of 113.5 million. The lower limit is 83.9 million, which is getting really close to our current salary cap. Which is insane. I think fans hearing the news of the 113, there's some small market fans out there who look at like what the Los Angeles Dodgers are doing in
Oh
Major
my
League
God! If
Baseball.
you're looking at it like that, get a fucking grip.
And I think
Holy moly.
it could spook some. It could spook some
Good.
fans.
You know what? A cap going up, for sure. Feel anxiety about it. Don't enjoy it. Don't get excited for player movement. You know what? I want the league to go back to when we did shit all. Let's not put anything on these general managers to be creative, to go out and sign good contracts. No, let's just fucking leave it the way it is. I can't wait for a trade deadline.
Adam.
July 1st, I want a bunch of fucking league min deals. I'm so pumped.
Adam, the
Are
trade
you fucking
deadline.
serious,
the
guys?
trade deadline.
I just wanted to say that some fans might be feeling that way. And yeah, if you wanted to,
man.
if you don't have to,
What will the owners do?
you don't have to mock them.
What
to-
will the
Be
owners
cheap
do?
and have a lockout again,
What
Adam.
will the owners do? I can't imagine.
What were the owners before?
Adam.
Broke? They didn't give a shit. They had a lockout
More money
anyway.
than they've ever made before. Do you not understand?
And guess
this?
what you can do with a lockout? Even more.
Instead of yelling at those fans, why don't you use?
I'm yelling at the sentiment, Jesse.
Yes, use the opportunity to dispel their fears.
Guys, when the cap goes up, it's 50% owner, 50% player. If the cap goes up to record levels, that means that the owners are making more money than they've ever made before, which means that the players, therefore, should share in making more money than they've ever made before. That's the system. So you can't give me this. When the cap goes up, so I'm a proponent of a luxury to hard tax. I've always said that. That's the way I feel. And I know it would work better because it forces rich guys to spend more money on actual things.
He's ramping up. Let's go.
What bothers me is that,
What bothers you?
that you'll so easily buy the billionaire line of, oh, we're poor. Guys, hold on, Steve.
Yeah,
hold on, let me talk.
Okay, go nuts. Get after it.
This is a fucking tax write-off. If my NHL team, I own a corporation, multiple corporations in some cases, and I buy an NHL team because that's fun. That's cool. I get to show off to my friends. It's a great business thing. Oh man, I lost $25 million on my team. Oh, I lost $50 million on my team. Damn. What am I going to do? I could do what Fenway Sports and Entertainment's doing and entertain another buyer coming in and buying a piece of the Pittsburgh Penguins. I can sell the team, capitalize on my gains, and make an absolute fortune. Or I can run a bunch of expenses through taxes and go, you know what, guys? I'm not actually going to have to pay the amount of... See, this corporation made money, but my NHL corporation didn't, so I don't have to pay any taxes this year.
Was it a tax write-off in 1994?
Oh, Steve, different economics.
Was it a tax write-off in 2000?
That's a totally different...
Was it a tax write-off in 2012?
Steve, stop.
Was this-
1994.
stop. Why?
1994
Why? It's a
is
valid
when-
point.
That is when families owned teams and they'd own them for generations. This is a completely different business climate. So if you want to have a discussion, let's have a real discussion about it. That's not a real discussion.
Why is that not a real discussion?
Because
I'm using history as a precedent.
You're talking about teams when they were worth $50 million. You're talking about ownership groups that had no business other than owning those teams. What ownership group in the NHL, other than the Wirtz family, other than them,
Bruins.
doesn't know they have fucking Jeremy Jacobs' food empire behind them?
And they've always had it.
That's my point, Steve. You're not understanding. When you have a bunch of billionaires, they didn't make their money in hockey. They made their money in something else and then bought into hockey.
Great.
In 1994, that wasn't the case. 1994, you had a bunch of family-owned businesses, and they made their money in hockey. And if they lost money, they lost it in hockey, right? The league was not well run. This is a completely different league. You have a hard cap. You have billionaires. You're talking about expansion fees for the NHL in excess of 1.5 billion American dollars for the next two markets, and it might even be higher than that, and that's before an arena gets built. Guys,
Adam,
this is a completely different set of, and you're arguing with me over a team spending an extra $10 million a season. What are we talking about?
You're getting into the. First of all, rich people are cheap.
Yeah.
This is like a
Then
established
get mad
thing
at your
that we
cheap
know.
ass
Okay.
owner.
So
No, they're all cheap.
if we're in 27-28 and Terry Pegula says I don't want to spend more than $90 million on my players for this season, which is
what Josh Allen is going to be making that year,
which is more than the current salary cap. But he definitely has the money to spend 113, but he's choosing these like 90 million's enough for my team. You know, we're going to spend that. And the Buffalo Sabres are dog shit and they're losing, let's say, all of that scenario. I don't know if this is going to happen. You guys might be good then. And then the other teams, the Toronto Maple Leafs of the world, are spending $113 million on their salaries, and the fans there are upset that the NHL has created this economic reality where billionaires are being cheap. And do we get to a scenario where the players and owners are fighting, and we get to a lockout?
No.
That's not possible? Okay.
I don't think so.
Okay,
I think Buffalo. Listen, if Buffalo continues to act, if we're using Buffalo as an example, if they continue to act like that, and they continue to not spend money, they'll continue to fucking lose. And their fans will continue to fucking revolt.
But the value of that franchise that he owns
is still going up.
No matter how much money he loses year over year, no matter how much losing the team does, he's making money.
Yes.
So no, that's what I'm saying. To my point is that if they continue to lose, he's okay with it. So that might be a reality where he continues to lose.
And that is where, as fans, you need to organize a little bit. And you need like Pirates games. That owner is the cheapest owner in all of professional sports, and there is no cap, zero cap in baseball. Right. I mean, there's a luxury tax, but baseball needs to fix their shit, right? The Dodgers doing what they're doing is insane. I'm not advocating for a scenario like that, and I've been very clear about that. But when you have, like, if Terry Pegula does that, and I have a feeling that if Buffalo starts to win, he won't.
This is literally hypothetical. I don't think his motives are in that realm at all, because what he's done with Buffalo, you see, like, when there's an opportunity for a winning team, like, he'll be there.
Then he'll
show up to the building.
Then you're stuck like the Leafs were with a shitty owner for a couple decades, and you can't control that as a fan. So you're asking. So that would be taking an owner's poor decision making and applying it to the cap. An owner who doesn't see that spending an extra $20 million might get him $100 million in actualized value for his franchise. If you have a winning franchise, it's worth hundreds of millions of dollars more. You guys get that, right?
And owner's poor decision-making is what got us a cap in the first place.
Yeah, but that doesn't...
They couldn't control themselves, so Bettman had to put guardrails.
But you're talking about, some owners couldn't control themselves.
Enough that it yard sailed a whole season.
Okay, but
Adam, that was 20 years ago.
Steve, that's so not relevant to what we're talking about, because you're talking about an owner in the system that the owners wanted going, I'm just not simply going to do that. And if you do that, fine. That's your prerogative as an owner. But to take that and blame that on the cap system that the owners threw a season away over is insane. That's insane. They broke the players' union in 2004. They broke them.
Yep.
They broke them. There are 30 players. I can't even believe some of the names that are on this list that absolutely torched the NHLPA, destroyed it for an entire generation.
They sold out a generation.
The NHLPA has not been the same until this year with Marty Walsh. Honestly, it's never been the same. Yeah. So we're gonna let the owners. We're gonna let the owners go. It's $10 million. What am I? $20 million. What are we fucking talking about here, guys? It means that, here's the thing. If the cap's going to that means that television revenues are up. That means that the new Canadian deal is going to be signed that we expect between 1.2 and 1.5 billion. It means that ESPN's deal is probably due and is going to go up. TNT, same thing. These owners are going to be just fine. And if they choose not to spend, that's their prerogative. They own the team.
They will do that at every turn.
To blame it on the cap system that they implemented. Oh, it's a problem for me now.
It's not about that. It's bullshit.
It's their problem. It's their fucking problem. And the players.
Ted Leonsis has just threatened to move the Caps.
Well, yeah, but that was never.
Well, yeah, the Flames interfere in every election imaginable.
Yes, they do,
and have the soft. Oh, we might have to move the team. They do that every so often, every few months. Oilers, same thing for a while there. These guys at every turn will try to save a buck. Cool.
It's 50-50. What's it going to be then? Is HRR going to go 60% owners, 40% players? Is that what we're like? What if we're going to strike, or sorry, not strike? If we're going to lock out, what are we locking out over?
I don't know.
Well, you're the one making the argument, Steve. What is it?
The cap is climbing, and it's climbing, and it's climbing, and it's climbing.
It
and it's
passed
gonna
an
go.
imaginary line, and we're making more money than ever. Let's fuck it up and sit out a
Adam,
season.
you're just not looking at this realistically. You're just.
Do you know how much that season devastated the NHL? They
was
lost
bad.
$100 million ESPN deal in the NHL, and they were not the same again for 20 years. People are making the same money now that they were making in 2004.
Players are.
And by the way, the team values they saw the Senators, man. The Senators were purchased for like $80 million.
So
I'm serious. Like, this is the owners. If an owner chooses to do that, it's not the Cap's fault, is my point.
I know that.
And if you think that the owners,
But I'm telling you, they'll use it.
if you think the owners are going to go to war over when they're making this much money, there's no way. There's no way. I'm telling you that. There's no way. They're going to be like,
think
let the
billionaires
good times
will not
roll.
fight to be bigger billionaires, I think you're missing the point.
I think you're wrong in the sense that the better way to fight to be more billionaires is not to divide the pie even more. It's to grow the pie. It's to grow. And
I agree.
The growth of the pie is spectacular.
Yeah.
Why would you lock it? Why would you shut the league down? By the way, I think it's interesting that you guys are saying this and that you're worried about this when all these owners had to take money out of their own pockets and put it into their teams during COVID.
I'm not worried about a striker lockout.
That's not happening.
I'm worried about just the have-nots and the haves you create with the giant gap in the salary cap. We'll see if teams choose to create their own internal caps, like more of them, now that it's going so high, because I know owners are stingy at spending money on player salaries, even though that's the whole reason you have this business is the guys on the ice. I worry about the competitiveness on the ice. I think the negotiations, when the Bettman news came out about him retiring, I was outlining like, okay, the retirement thing makes so much sense with Bettman because he's going to finish out his tenure as negotiating the CBA, which is the negotiations are going to begin they said hopefully in next month in February. That's when they outlined in the fall when they would begin. I think that's so much runway to complete them by the end of the 26 season when it expires. And I think that's going to be his ushering away from the game. You know, he finishes the CBA negotiations. He says, look how happy those negotiations were. Here is the next era of the NHL. And then he hands it off to the next commissioner, and he sticks around for that last year, the 26-27 season. And that's his farewell tour with the next commissioner learning by his side, which is probably going to be Bill Daly, but hopefully not. And I think that's how it's going to go. And that prediction from me it hinges on a happy CBA negotiations. And I think because of the economic reality of the NHL, you're going to get a very good negotiation because everybody wants the money to keep flowing. So a lockout or strike doesn't make sense in this reality.
You got to remember too here that the NHL in the United States is exploding. It's growing rapidly. That was the point the whole time. That's why they put hockey in California. That's why they put hockey in Nashville. That's why they put hockey in Florida. That's why they put hockey in Carolina, like all of those places. And part of what happened in the late 80s and early 90s was no cap, family-run businesses in a lot of cases, so they couldn't lose money, right? Where it's different now. And you've got a situation where there is a very, listen, it's a very exclusive club to own a team. You got 2 more franchise tags coming in the next couple of years, right? We know it's likely to be Houston and it's likely to be Atlanta. And then once they build that arena in Arizona, they're going to come back to. And then that leaves, they'll probably need a 4th, right? To even out the conferences, okay? So you've got that happening. And you've got, so imagine you're in high school again. There's about 30 kids in your class, but all of them are billionaires. All of them are egomaniacs.
Yeah.
All of them are braggarts.
Yeah.
All of them think they invented money.
Good word.
All of them. All of them think like
braggart.
You know, one of the things I loved from Agent Provocateur, we talked to Keith Olbermann once, and he said, because he talked about billionaires. I said, what is it like talking to these guys, these team owners? He's like, they think that they invented money when in actuality they were just right place, right time. And the only billionaire I've ever seen back that up is Mark Cuban, who said, because they asked him on a podcast once, like, how do you plan to be a billionaire? He's like, you can't. He's like, you're right place, right time. You grew up in the right era. You grew up in the right location. It's so many things have to go right. There's no way that you could plan for it. So all these guys, though, think that they fucking did it. Or their dads did it and they inherited it.
Therefore, they did it.
And so, and maybe Terry Pagula doesn't care, but there's going to be a lot of owners that are fucking bragging about how great their team is. You think Bill Foley walks into an NHL meeting and doesn't brag about winning a cup? Bill Foley is wearing he's tattooing that on his forehead. These guys are competitive.
I would
They're
make my
jealous.
championship ring like a clock necklace that I wear like fucking
Absolutely.
Flavor Flav.
What do you think Jeremy Jacobs was like when the Bruins won in 2011? Do you think he was a fun guy to be around if you're another billionaire? No.
Good Lord, no.
I think that, you have to remember that these owners are just as human as everybody else and are just as competitive as everybody else. So I think it's, maybe the Samuelis in Anaheim are waiting for the team to be good again. But when that team was good, they spent a lot of money, right? Compared to the cap. They were a cap team.
I don't remember.
It's
been a while.
It has been a while. I think that if you're worried about that, you shouldn't be. I understand why you are. Totally different economics. And barring a bird flu pandemic, which,
No!
once every 100 years, why not twice? I think that we're looking at a situation here where most teams are pretty comfortable within about $10 million of the cap. And I think that puts them on pretty even playing fields. Right? Mm-hmm. Also, your cap floor would be what? They
released it.
What was the cap floor if at 110 million? What's the cap floor?
It's not 110. You keep saying that. It's 113.5.
Oh.
Is the 27-28 salary
I'm
cap.
sorry.
That's the upper limit, and the lower limit is 83.9.
Okay. That's a big gap.
Yeah.
That's a big gap. You can't. This is why it's good not to have the Coyotes.
Started the conversation.
No, Jesse, that's not what I'm saying.
I know, it's just funny.
Okay, well, stop taking it out of context then. Guys, I'm trying to tell you, there's nobody in this league that's spending at the floor anymore. Nobody.
Just wait till they
Even the Ducks got Trouba and his entire $8 million contract. Right? And the Columbus Blue Jackets were let off the hook because of the Gaudreau situation, and they had to kind of climb their way back to the cap.
Remember when the Ducks deferred on Vetrano? No reason I can point out.
I think the reasons to defer are obvious. It's lower cap hit, man, and no penalty for it.
Yeah, but
I don't know why nobody's doing this.
the Ducks.
The Leafs did it with McCabe. I was like, defer more.
That makes sense. The Leafs are a cap team.
Listen,
who the hell is the Ducks?
I'm telling you, don't feel worried about this. The NHL and its owners want to make more money. Do they make more money by stopping the product, or do they make more money by continually growing the product by doing what they're doing right now? And getting a couple new franchises, which they don't have to share. Those franchise tags get split up with all the other owners and none of the players. That is 0% goes to the players.
I just want the league to go 20 years without a work stoppage.
I agree with you.
Which is something they haven't done.
That would be really bad for our business. I'm with you on that.
Adam, if you threw a Molotov cocktail at my face,
I wouldn't.
I think it'd be reasonable for me to not trust you to not do that.
What if I did it
I'm
twice in
20 years?
What if I did it twice in 15 years?
Oh, well, then I'm done with you. I think most people would be like, you know what? That old Adam Wild's a real Molotov cocktail face thrower.
Mm-hmm. Listen,
I don't care for it.
I know I get heated about this, and I know it annoys people.
Nah, bullshit.
But I'll tell you this. There's a reason. It's because it's not happening. Stop worrying about it.
The upper limit right now, 88 million. The lower limit right now is 65 million. That's a $23 million gap.
Shoot.
By 26-27, the gap between the upper limit and the lower limit increases to $30 million. That's where I started this conversation. They're increasing it by $7 million on where the lower teams can spend to in comparison to where the upper teams can spend.
Then maybe it's on the owners to go, guys, we gotta spend more. To create parity. You gotta spend more.
Adam.
I think your gut reaction when I read the lower limit was, oh, that's a big gap. I think it's a bigger gap
than should be allowed. I think that's a failure on the NHLPA side. How could they have allowed that percentage? That's ridiculous.
That's where I started this conversation.
That's a PA negotiating problem, I think. And that's when you have poor leadership and a group of guys who fucking walk out on you when things get tough, like they did in 04 and 05. That's what happens.
So I think the feelings are valid for a team like Calgary, who's spending, I think, like $70 million currently on.
Yeah, but they're a cap team
caps.
when they're good.
They are, but they're sometimes when teams like that from around the league. I'm just throwing out examples.
And their owner is
might choose to be
cheap.
30 million below the other teams, and then we might get into some epic tanks in the future of these. Next NHL.
Here's what I got
We
for
can
you.
move on, though.
The Capitals are spending $100 million this year. The Avs are spending 93. The Islanders are spending 91. Leafs spending 91. Canadians spending 91. Hurricanes spending 89.
The Canadians 91 is Carey Price.
Still, they still have to pay him.
That's true. It's true.
They still have to pay him.
Yeah, I guess.
I mean, what's the Capitals one? They've got some sort of. They've obviously have a lot of money on LTIR.
Backstrom.
Blues, Senators are spending over the cap right now. Now there's LTIR in there, but my point stands. There's already teams spending to $100 million, and a lot of them, 8 to be exact. Not 8. Sorry, to 90 million, and the cap's 88. I think we're gonna be okay, kids. We're gonna be fine.
I hope so.
Oh, stop.
What? I hope so.
Okay, fine. I've said my piece. I leave it for now. I will approach this again next January.
Listen, all I have been taught over, like, you're looking at this like this is great. There's reason for unbridled optimism. And I just do not have the bravery or strength
To have that?
to look at anything the NHL does and go, this is going to be great forever. Like,
That's fair.
I don't have it. I don't have it because they've scarred me.
When I plug in to google.ca, $113.5 million USD to CAD, you get $164 million.
Holy shit.
The Canadian dollar being absolutely atrocious right now isn't helping any of these Canadian teams.
So every time they announce the cap is going up, I think the Jets shed a tear.
Yeah, like a team like the Jets, where it's like, hey, you want to be a cap team,
Jesse.
you got to pay your player salaries in USD, but you're making all of your local revenue in CAD.
Quick question.
Sucks.
Quick question. Now do 1.2 billion American dollars into Canadian.
Is this my salary?
No.
What is this?
This is the new TV rights deal.
1.7.
1.7 billion Canadian dollars. So divide that by 7 teams.
Right.
And then take 20% off or whatever.
All right.
Yeah,
That's
but
too many steps.
I'm talking about just
That's too many steps.
What I'm telling you is
day-to-day.
TV revenue is going to follow with this.
Yeah, it's 248 million. The 1.7 divided by 7. I'm talking about like the year to year, I should say, reality of those NHL teams is gonna suck a little. Like, especially if you're a team like Winnipeg, where we got to pay everybody in USD, and you know our
They're also getting their TV revenue in USD.
yeah, but our local ticket revenue and the sales.
Yeah,
we make
okay.
all of the
How and again I go, how much is
And
the
the
NHL a
advertising.
gay-driven league anymore?
yeah.
It's a suites driven league, and it's a TV rights driven league. That's where
The
they're making
suites
their
are
money.
in CAD.
They are.
The suites and the advertising, that
And the
you gotta
suites
sell.
in Ottawa, Winnipeg are always going to be low.
Yeah,
They just are.
And the advertising you got to sell during the commercial breaks for Rogers and all that. That's CAD, right?
But Amazon doesn't really care.
No.
And your regional rights holders, Rogers and Bell, they're going to make what they're going to make.
Yeah.
TV
Amazon's
rights are-
not in the business of making money.
for this. No.
Yeah, they have other ways of making money.
They just want you on Prime. Goddamn.
yeah, they're just looking for subscriptions.
With all this news, it's currently illegal. I think it's important to state that, but I think it should be legal whenever your billionaire owner asks for tax dollars to build a new stadium
I agree with
to
that.
kick them in the balls.
It's
not. I want to state that's an illegal thing to do.
'Cause what is that?
You can't do it.
What is that?
Illegal.
Corporate socialism.
Oh, yes. But I want to live in a world where it's legal to kick them in the balls for even suggesting it.
I agree with you. I think that should be the penalty.
Like a
I
running wind
I
up.
am 100% on board with that. That is so stupid. I cannot believe that.
Like a goal kick.
Yeah, or they get 50 years of tax breaks. How about that, huh?
Yeah.
50 years.
Kick in the balls. How about that? 50 years, 50 kicks in the balls. One for every year. That's what you should get.
Well, if you do you get the kick in the balls for suggesting it, or do you get the kick in the balls but they get the deal?
Oh, no. You get the kick in the balls as a lesson to not ask me anymore
Oh, okay.
because you're wrong for asking. You're an asshole for asking. You're a piece of shit.
Just lining up the Calgary management group, kicking them all in the balls.
Just all the citizens of Alberta, like Ronaldo, swing, just right in the nuts.
Okay. All right.
What they deserve.
Love it. Anything else? Should we
It
do
is
press
illegal
conference?
currently.
Should we do
They
a press
started
conference?
building that arena in Calgary, right?
I don't know. Have they
They
broken ground on
started
it?
construction. Yeah, I think I saw. I was trying to Google it here. They had some.
That-
Oh yeah, they have a time lapse shows first month of construction. So I guess they are doing something.
Oh, good for them. That's great.
Yeah.
It's about freaking time, man. Calgary needs it. I wish it had been funded by the Flames completely, but hey,
July.
it only decided
It's
an
tough
election.
when you vote to get kicked in the balls.
July 22nd,
Not much you can do about that.
2024. They broke ground. That's good. Adam, do you want to be called out by the internet?
Oh, I'm ready.
Let's
Give it
go.
to me.
Okay, let me.
Call me out. I know I'm going to get...
The Presser. SDP. The Steve Dangle Press Conference.
I know I'm going to get it from certain fans of small market teams, but you guys don't need to worry. I'm telling you. Just telling you. Worry about other things. State of the world.
This is the Steve Dangle podcast from a couple days ago. I tried to bring something up, and Adam Wild had a rebuttal, and this is what went down.
The Steve Dangle Press Conference.
Big stretch.
You shouldn't leave things up to me.
Oh, okay. Next time I'll just be like, Jesse, hit the button.
Yeah.
Smack it.
Yeah. No,
Give it a good spanking.
you made the topics for the
All right.
show. Include the press conference
all right.
if you want it.
I do want it.
Do you guys care that the Utah Hockey Club got rejected for using the name Yeti?
Yes, I had this story, but I read up on it, and they just have to challenge it because it was rejected because there was the patent office said it might cause confusion, which is such a bureaucratic bullshit way of going.
Why?
I don't have the authority to say yes or no because Yeti is also a like they have the Yeti cooler mugs and they I know. Well, that's why they can challenge it.
My nose is so
I said they can, by the way.
every day I read some sort of story about a politician or a judge, and I'm like, where the fuck do we find these people?
Hey, Steve, you understand now a little bit why people are... Listen, maybe it's misdirected, but people can be a little upset with the government for stupid shit.
Someone's going to show up to a Utah Yetis game, and they're going to look down at the ice and be like, why aren't there a bunch of mugs on the ice? What?
The Yeti brand...
What are you,
which-
fucking stupid?
The risk that you would take if you were the Yeti brand and you have the traveling mugs is... If something bad happens with the Utah HC or vice versa, let's say the Yeti mugs, they have a compound in them that turns your face gray or purple. Then the worry for both brands would be, could their brand negligence affect my brand? Is that reasonable? Not at all, but that is the kind of stuff they get into.
Google Stanley Cup and see what comes up.
I know.
It's not going to be the Stanley Cup.
I know. It's going to be
Does anyone get a say in
a
that?
pink glittery cup that holds way too much water. Like more water than you need in a day. Anyway,
We spend money on the dumbest fucking shit.
Jesse?
How do
I
we
interpreted
get
it a
through a
little
day
differently.
as a species?
I think-
Jesus Christ.
I think they run into
I got very
problems with,
upset
like,
about this.
Yeti, the brand, the mug brand sells things like T-shirts that simply say Yeti, and it's hard to go to market in a world with copyright when there's already a brand with that copyright on a T-shirt. So like it's hard for the Utah Yetis to sell a T-shirt that says Yeti on it when that already exists in the land. So
Who has a Yeti t-shirt?
I can buy it. They make clothes and stuff. Mm-hmm. Yeti.
You wear a shirt.
What did I do wrong?
Our discussion about the Utah Yeti, I think, should have been taken a little bit more seriously
No. Oh,
because it happened.
yeah, it did.
It
The
took
thing-
an
the thing-
alarming lack of time.
The thing that I think was a little bit dismissed by our panel here, Steve and Adam, actually came to fruition, and the Yeti brand, the cooler brand, did stand up for their right to protect their copyright, and now Utah must choose between Mammoth and Outlaws or Hockey Club, and Yeti is off the table forever.
Yes. And it's because they chose not to challenge it. But I was right. They could challenge it.
I think they did.
Didn't bother.
They went and they tried to get the copyright and they shot down, and they felt that they didn't have enough lawyers and backing to reverse it.
I mean, there is a time issue here too.
Yeah.
Like, if they don't get this name hammered down in the next, I don't know, couple months, like they probably don't get it.
You got to go with HC another season. Because and jerseys in time.
And when did the conversation start with the Coyotes? Like, when did it really? It was like, wasn't it Marty Walsh at All-Star last year? Mm-hmm. We're getting awfully close to like the year anniversary of that. And then it moved very quickly from there in our eyes, because it had been 20 years of, are the Coyotes going or are they not? And then they couldn't get the jerseys done, right? Because didn't they fly the Coyotes players into Utah like right after game 82?
It was very shortly.
It was like in April.
It was surprising.
And they still could, so you're right. They got to figure it out. So, Jesse, you were correct. There you go.
I don't know if I was correct.
Golf claps.
Or if you
Golf
were
claps.
just wrong. Like
golf claps.
That counts.
Okay,
that counts too.
Good. All right.
There you go.
We're done.
That's it? That's the press conference?
Yeah, I think we're out of time here.
Oh,
fellas.
okay. All right. Well,
wait. Here, think of a good question.
Is it Outlaws? Is it Mammoth? Or
Which one are you picking?
Mammoth.
Mammoth, right?
Mammoth.
Yeah. We're all in agreement.
Stanley Cup.
Mammoth Graham.
The Steve Dangle Podcast. Follow the guys on Twitter at Steve_Dangle, at Adam WYLDE, and at Jesse Blake. Connection complete.